I'm an idiot.
I'm a stupid
moron
with an ugly face and a big butt, and my butt
smells, and I like to kiss my own
butt.
I'm an idiot.
bagaki.
Hello everyone, how you doing? No intro because my hard drive's broken and all my videos are on there, which includes my intros. I'm over on Modern Day Debates doing a debate about religion because, I don't know, I guess I like punishing myself or something. Now I understand a lot of you aren't into this religious side of my channel because you like seeing me dunk on Flerfs, but you know, this is something that I want to do and I'm enjoying doing, and hopefully I'm going to get better at and be as good as debating Flerfs as doing this as well. So I just want to say thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for the support. Feel free to super chat and support the channel as much as you can. I will get to reading the super chats after the debate over on Modern Day Debates. But let's just go over there and say hello to everybody. Make sure we've got this working. Okay.
Bagaki.
I'm an idiot.
Enjoy the show. Press the wrong button. Right. Okay, I'm live. Hello, Jake. Nice to meet you. Why can't I hear him? Oh, it's because I muted him over here. That's my bad. Sorry, Jake, I'd muted you. Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good. Good to meet you too. What time is it over there in the UK? It must be like pretty
Midnight.
early. Okay, not too bad
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Are you a night owl?
Mostly because the majority of my audience are American. So I kind of have to be.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
Who needs sleep, right?
Yeah.
I've only got to get my kids up
All
in
right.
8 hours to go to school, so, you know, it's fine.
Cool.
That hurts. All right, I'm just going to do the clipping up here, and then we'll get started in a few. So the rules are usually, you get up to 10 minutes.
We're just having a few tech difficulties over here trying to get our audio going, Ryan. So
Yep.
we quickly sort that out first.
Yeah. All right,
Wonders
then,
of modern
I'll get out of your ear.
technology.
All right, we'll just get out of his ear for a second. I'll clip the screens and let them focus, but we'll
Cool,
run
thank
through
you.
in like 2.
Testing.
This is going to be fun, guys. The debate actually is about what's better for society, secular humanism or Christianity. It's kind of the same debate as what's a better ethical foundation, really, because that's what decides about what society is. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. Obviously, I'm still learning their arguments. I've been doing flat earth debates for years. I understand every single little stupid thing that's going to come out of their mouths. Although I think I hold the correct position, the arguments within the debate on this particular topic, I'm still learning and getting used to engaging with. And today I've had no time to prepare, and I'm literally just winging it. So let's see what happens. It's going to be fun. If I lose, I lose.
Do it in this window, Vinny. We can always do it not on Zoom, but rather on Google. You know what I mean?
Looks like we're having some tech issues over on the religion side. He's got his team working on it. Looks like he's got soundproofing as well. How is everyone doing in the chat? Rachbot, it's amazing to see you. Borg Emporia, it's always awesome to see you there. Syrian, Dihydrogen Monoxide, Has King, Mr. Svensson. Guys, look, seeing you guys in the chat makes me extremely happy. I absolutely love doing this and seeing you guys support me and support the channel no matter what I do. And like I said, I understand not as many of you enjoy this side of the channel as the Flerf side. But that's fine. Because... Admiral Snappy Turtle, how are you not a moderator, by the way? You totally should be. Please make sure you share the stream. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Smash it like it's Daniel Pratt's face. Oh, wait, no, you're going to keep hitting it over and over. Imagine you just want to hit it once for some reason. Zoomy, how are you doing, you awesome tomato, you? Your probe staring at me constantly. Alright, see how we're going?
Yeah, okay. Let's do that.
I think they've got it sorted.
All right, we're just going to share the actual modern day debate video then, Brian.
Yeah, no worries. As long as you don't have an echo. Like if you have to have the sound on, that it could have a
I'm not going to
effect.
have me in there as well. I'm just going to have the straight up modern day debate video.
All right, yeah, no, that's no worries.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, just let me know when you're ready.
Cool. 1 minute. All right, cool.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, we're pretty much good to go, but I think Vinny's going to come and give me a thumbs up when it's streaming. So,
all right, no worries. Then I'll start up the intro here. I'm just gonna check our stream. Make sure everything's running good. Same as y'all. Oh, we're already getting super chats.
woohoo!
Probably insulting me. That's always fun.
Yeah, they're
I get a bit of it too. Don't worry, Craig.
they're saying that stupid Q-tip. Why is he back? Anyway, I'm kidding. Are you live right now? I'm so sorry, Craig. I've given you all that to work
Come on,
with.
guys, super chat me so I can read them to Ryan.
Oh no! Yeah. Roast me if you're at Craig's audience. Yeah, that's great. Stop using me to make money, Craig. I get offended easily. All right.
You're Canadian. You don't get offended.
Me? I don't know. I actually can't remember the last time. All right.
Just don't mention America and you're fine.
You're not gonna. I was gonna say you're not gonna whine about being interrupted here and there, right? Yeah. No tears.
No, I'm too tired.
Okay. All right. I'm just picking on you. I just seen our live chat. Some people are saying stop interrupting. So, yeah. I know who that's for. I just got to pick a little bit.
Vinny, ready or what?
Yeah. I'm ready to start up on my end.
All right, we're ready to go.
Perfection. Let's roll it. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Modern Day Debate. I am your host, Ryan. Tonight we have Craig from Fight the Flat Earth versus Jake of Rattlesnake TV. They're going to be debating secular humanism or Christianity. What is best for society? And we're going to get started right now. So I'm going to start the timer up, and you have up to 10 minutes. So, Jake, the floor is all yours, and thanks for being here at Modern Day Debate.
Thank you very much for having me, Ryan. I appreciate it. Thanks for moderating. And Craig, it is good to see you. I briefly saw you in New York at DebateCon. We didn't really get to chat too much, but Craig seems like a good fella. Ryan, another great fella. Haven't seen you since that fateful night in Las Vegas, and I won't tell the chat what you did. But the debate tonight is about Christianity or secular humanism. What is better for society? Now, let me first say that I believe that secular humanism is essentially a tool developed by atheist liberals to try and enact a Mike Tyson-like bob and weave around the existential trap of nihilism and to try and create a cosmic justification for their progressivism. This is reflected in the modern adaptations of the Secular Humanist Manifesto, which is far more focused on emphasis on group identity and systemic change rather than individual autonomy and rational ethics. Furthermore, it is a completely and utterly arbitrary worldview that inevitably has to bite the bullet of moral relativism and arbitrarity, and it's always subject to change, meaning that there is no objective or grounding principles that guide it. Craig has no actual justification and guiding principles that suggest that his principles are better than mine or anyone else's for that matter. But with that, I don't want Craig to try and accuse me of being bad faith or playing any rhetorical games, because I simply want to put the ball in his court today and explain exactly why I believe that Christianity is demonstrably better than secular humanism, and hopefully we can have a really good back and forth about this. To answer this, we must first look at Christianity and what it has done throughout history. Christianity's moral teachings, particularly the core of the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done to you, have not only reshaped civilization, but have continually provided the moral foundation for compassion, justice, and human dignity. Christianity at its heart is built on love and selflessness, two things that secular humanism, though it may strive for, cannot truly anchor in anything objective. The Christian imperative isn't about acting out of self-interest or even communal benefit. It's about loving your neighbor even when there is nothing to be gained. How does secular humanism explain this? And by this, I mean altruism. If we are all just the products of evolutionary process, hardwired for survival and reproduction, then why would we constantly engage in self-sacrificial behavior? This seems to go against pure self-interest, which evolutionary theory suggests should be the driving force of human behavior. Christianity, through its teachings of Jesus Christ and the aforementioned Golden Rule and much more, calls for radical care for the poor, the marginalized, the oppressed, and those who cannot repay you. And this ethic has transformed society at its core. One of the most profound ways in which Christianity has manifested this call to action is through charity and healing. Let's consider hospitals. Long before secular institutions made strides in healthcare, it was Christians who built the first hospitals, taking Jesus' call to action very seriously to care for the sick. They didn't do this because it was profitable or beneficial to them. They did it because they believed in the intrinsic value of each individual, rooted in the belief that each person is made in the image of God. The Christian ethic of mercy and compassion led to the establishment of these institutions, which saved countless lives and laid the foundation for modern medicine and healthcare. Furthermore, Christianity has been at the forefront of real social justice movements, notably in the abolition of slavery. It was Christian leaders like William Wilberforce in Britain and Frederick Douglass in the United States who led the charge against the inhumane institution of slavery, drawing from their Christian faith to argue that slavery was a gross violation of the dignity and value of the human being. How does the secular humanist account for this? If morality is simply a product of human experience and cultural evolution, how can you claim that some actions such as slavery, genocide, or child abuse are objectively wrong? If morality is subjective, how can we universally declare acts to be immoral? Secular humanism struggles to provide an answer that isn't purely subjective or based on fleeting human consensus. Christianity, however, provides objective moral grounding, the belief that humans are created in the image of God and therefore have inherent worth. The divine command gives Christians the reason to love their neighbors, care for the oppressed, and promote justice. It's not just an ideal or a nice suggestion, it's a moral obligation to embody the very teachings of Jesus, who commanded his followers to even love their enemies and to serve others selflessly. Furthermore, let's talk about volunteering and charitable work. Organizations like World Vision, Catholic Relief Service, and Compassion International are Christian organizations that continue to lead the charge in fighting global poverty, hunger, disease, and providing education. Their missions are grounded in the Christian belief of love, not love as a vague feeling, but love as an active, self-sacrificial choice to serve others. The organizations don't just help, they are the embodiment of the Golden Rule in their actions, demonstrating that Christianity's impact on society has been profoundly transformative. Now, how does secular humanism, with its subjective and ever-changing code, answer for this? What happens when human experience conflicts with moral principles? What happens when what is right for one society is wrong for another? What on earth do secular humanists do about abortion, which for hundreds of millions of people around the Western world, based on their collective experience, is a moral abomination? But we probably won't arrive at a real answer because their moral framework is relativistic, meaning it cannot offer the sustainability or moral clarity to guide a flourishing society over time. Christianity, by contrast, offers absolute moral clarity. The Bible's ethical teachings, such as the Ten Commandments, provide unchanging moral laws that govern both personal behavior and societal norms. Jesus' Sermon on the Mount offers a radical call to love the poor in spirit, to mourn with those who suffer, to hunger and thirst for righteousness, and to be peacemakers in a divided world. These values are not arbitrary, they are divinely ordained and given to guide all of humanity. The Good Samaritan parable is another example of how Christianity has shaped the world's understanding of compassion. The Samaritan, who helps the injured man despite being from a historically despised group, just demonstrates that love and mercy transcend social boundaries. The ethic of inclusivity and care for the stranger has been foundational in shaping modern humanitarian values and charitable actions throughout the world. Now, to something that is close to Craig's heart, science. Christianity played a foundational role in the development of modern science, not by just inspiring individuals to explore the natural world, but by creating the very intellectual framework that made the scientific inquiry possible. Unlike many ancient cultures that viewed the universe as chaotic or capricious force to be feared or appeased, Christianity introduced the belief in a rational, orderly God who created the universe with consistent laws that could be understood through human reason. This worldview was radically transformative. It proposed that the world was not governed by arbitrary forces, but by a creator who established predictable and patterns and laws. Early Christian scholars, including figures like Roger Bacon, Nicholas Copernicus, Johannes Kepler, and Isaac Newton, believed that studying the laws of nature was a way to understand God's handiwork and fulfill their spiritual duty to knowledge. The Christian doctrine of the lawful, intelligible creation formed the bedrock for the development of scientific methods such as observation, experimentation, and the use of reason. Furthermore, the establishment of universities in the Middle Ages, many founded by the Church, created institutions where intellectual inquiry could flourish. Oxford, Cambridge, Yale, and Harvard were all Christian-founded institutions. It was the Christian-driven commitment to a rational and ordered cosmos that underpinned by divine reason that set the stage for the rise of modern science. Now, I could go on all day about higher levels of happiness, lower divorce rates, lower suicidal ideation, stronger family structures, the fact that secularists cannot even reproduce their own society, the tragedies of secular atheist societies and their death toll in the 20th century alone, reduced crime rates and more, but we don't have time for that. In conclusion, Christianity offers a moral framework that is not only objective, compassionate, and transformative, but one that has shaped the world for the better for 2,000 years. From the abolition of slavery to the establishment of hospitals, universities, and charitable organizations, Christianity has been the driving force behind human flourishing. Secular humanism, with its reliance on reason and human experience alone, lacks the transcendent moral framework to offer lasting clarity, compassion, and justice. If we had to build a society grounded in love, justice, and compassion, Christianity is the way forward, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much there. I'll just get my preamp back up. Yeah, my apologies. Just right at the very end there, we were just getting ready to switch over. I wanted to let you all know that we are on Instagram now, so I'm going to clip up this promo and make it a little bit more normal. There we go. And perfect. So yeah, check us out over there. Give us a follow. We appreciate it. And we're going to carry over to Craig's opening statement, but I want to remind you all that at Modern Day Debate, we are a neutral platform hosting debates on science, politics, religion. We do hope you all feel welcome here. And we are going to take Q&A at the end. So put in your super chats and we're going to answer those questions. We've already got a few, so thank you to those who've already put in there. But without further ado, over to you, Craig. 10 minutes on the floor.
Thanks very much. Thank you for having me here again on Modern Day Debate. It's always a pleasure. And Jake, nice to meet you. Yeah, it was, well, nice to meet you again. Briefly saw you over in New Jersey. That was fun. Hopefully I'll see you again in Nashville in October. That'd be awesome. All right, everyone, thank you for being here today. We're delving into a crucial debate about what is better for society. We compare two fundamental approaches to ethics and governance, secular humanism principles versus religious doctrines, and how each shape the way we manage our societies and uphold our values. Let's start by unpacking what we mean by secular principles. These aren't just arbitrary ideas. They are grounded in reason, provable facts, and societal consensus. This approach is about creating a level playing field where everyone, regardless of personal beliefs, can find a common ground. This is essential as it helps build a society where laws and rights are universal, not selective. Take the history of slavery as a stark example. Surprisingly, many Christian leaders in the US once used the Bible to justify slavery, citing verses from Leviticus and Ephesians about enslaving neighbors and slaves obeying their masters. This rationale prevailed for a long time, especially in the South, and led to profound divisions within churches and communities. Yet, not all religious people supported this. Many, like William Wilberforce in the UK, opposed slavery vehemently. Wilberforce and others like him used their Christian values of love, mercy, and justice to champion the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833. This highlights a crucial aspect. Religious ethics can be interpreted in vastly different ways, sometimes being twisted to justify both good and evil deeds. This brings us to an important observation. While religious ethics can flex according to the interpretations of sacred texts, secular principles strive to evolve based on collective understanding and the latest knowledge. Today we'll explore how the adaptability of secular ethics is ideally suited to address contemporary challenges, far better than more rigid religious approaches that might not keep pace with issues like human rights. I'll examine how adopting secular principles has advanced personal freedoms, spurred scientific research, and enhanced social welfare, and contrast these achievements with some of the grim chapters in history often supported by religious doctrine, such as the Crusades or the witch trials. As we delve into the debate, let's consider whether a society can indeed be ethical without being religious. Is it possible to depend on a set of ethics that everyone can influence and accept? How do these principles stand up to the demands of a modern, equitable society? One of the main things that I like to point out is that we need to look at where the foundations of this come from. The foundations of secular ethics and society come from, a collective, decision of what is better for us and how to advance and make us, become a better society. Whereas the foundation of anything Christianity is God, which kind of poses a little bit of an issue, because to say that Christianity would give a better society, we would kind of need to explain some of the things that God said was okay. Because if God says that these things are okay, to base a society on what God says is okay means that these things could happen again if God deemed it necessary. The Great Flood, Old Testament, Genesis 6:8, God floods the entire earth to cleanse it of human wickedness, sparing only Noah, his family, and the animals on the ark. Destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Old Testament, Genesis 19. God destroys the cities due to their inhabitants' wickedness, sparing only Lot and his daughters, while Lot's wife is turned into a pillar of salt for looking back. The 10th plague, death of the firstborn, Old Testament, Exodus 11:12. In Egypt, God kills all firstborn children and animals as the final plague to persuade Pharaoh to release the Israelites from slavery. The killing of Uzziah, Old Testament 2 Samuel 6:6-7. God strikes Uzziah down for touching the Ark of the Covenant to steady it, despite his seemingly good intentions. Ordering the massacre of the Amalekites, God commands Saul to kill the Amalekites, including men, women, children, and even infants. Punishing David's family, Old Testament. As punishment for David's sin with Bathsheba, God strikes their baby with illness, leading to the child's death. The conquest of Canaan, Jephthah's daughter, the plagues and hardening Pharaoh's heart, and many, many more. Now, to say that Christianity is better for society, my opponent here today would have to justify all these things as the foundation of his basis for a society comes from the same being that said all these things are cool, killing kids is all good, because I deem it so. I'm not really sure how that could be great for society. Jake also brought up about what guiding principles are for secular humanism. There's very simple guiding principles. Humanism, prioritizing human well-being, dignity, and freedom as essential considerations in ethical decision-making. Reason and empirical evidence, making decisions based on logical reasoning and observable facts rather than on religious texts or divine revelations. Equality and justice, ensuring that all individuals have equal access to rights and opportunities and promoting fair treatment in both legal and social institutions. Autonomy, respecting the right of individuals to make their own choices, as long as these choices do not harm others. Universality, the idea that moral actions should be applicable universally. If something is right for one person, it should be right for everyone in similar circumstances. Compassion and empathy, encouraging a compassionate approach to dealing with others, understanding their situation and responding to their needs. Also, secular humanism tends to reject the idea of moral relativism, and we can get more into that in the discussion. And there was one other thing I really wanted to bring up, and that was Jake mentioned that secular societies can't even repopulate their own countries, the lowering of birth rates and stuff. And yes, absolutely, that has been an issue in countries that tend to be more secular. There has been lower birth rates, even below the rate that would allow a society to be sustained. Now, that's the thing about secular humanism, is we can look at what's happening and adjust it to make sure that it's better for society. And there is, in secular countries like Sweden, Germany, Japan, France, South Korea, Singapore, and Italy, they're putting in place a whole bunch of programs to help the birth rate increase. In Sweden, parental leave policies, 480 days for each child, as well as high quality subsidized childcare, In Germany, I'm probably going to ruin this, Eltergeld, parental allowance. Germany provides a parental allowance to support parents who take time off of work, covering 65 to 100% of their salary for up to 14 months. Japan, government subsidized IVF treatments, expansion of child care facilities. France, family allowances, preschool for all. South Korea, cash gifts for parental leave, child rearing subsidiaries. Singapore, baby bonus schemes, parental leave. Italy, baby bonuses, a state-funded program, tax incentives, breaks for families with dependent children. All these things, countries have gone, yes, we've got a lowering birth rate. What can we do to combat that? Here's a bunch of incentives to make people go and have babies. Because a lot of the reasons people choose to not have babies is financial and societal stresses. So secular countries are putting in places things to make those stresses less and boost the birth rate. Now, is this going to work? We don't know. We'll check it again in a few years and see if we need to adjust things to keep up the birth rate. I'm not going to deny that historically Christianity has worked well to make society better in a lot of ways. Jake mentioned the first hospitals and the advancements in science thanks to the people that were religious being able to read and write. And I'm never going to deny the good things that Christianity has done for society. But I do not see why we can't take those good things, add them to other good things that we want, and remove the religious doctrine from it. We all want to be better. We all want humanity to be better. We don't want anyone to suffer. We don't want anyone to be in harm. We want everyone to be able to flourish and be able to be a better human. And why can't we do that without the strict religious doctrine from what appears to be a petty, evil God that can wipe out humanity at a whim? And thank you very much.
1 minute. Okay, well, you still have 1 minute left. You could have.
I told you not to interrupt me, Ryan. What are you doing?
Yeah, I knew you'd get angry about this. Oh, you're just ready to melt. I swear. Oh, no, I'm just picking. All right, it was great to have you back, Craig. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys know that for sure in the live chat. I can see the questions are already flowing in, so I don't have to tell our audience. Of course, we're going to read those super chats at the end, so yeah, definitely keep them flying in. We appreciate all the support here at Modern Day Debate. We got lots of big things going on and coming up here. Almost 600 watching as well, so if you have thumbs that work, hit the like button. If you're watching on the phone, I've hit it with my nose, so like, come on, help us out here and boost us up in the algorithm. We appreciate it. Let's kick it into open discussion there, guys. Sorry, I had to step out for a second there. Kids.
We don't need you, Ryan. That's fine. Jake and I are adults.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can have a conversation. Just about you, just leave it to Jake and me. We'll be fine, right?
I was going to say, I think
exactly, we'll be good.
Yeah, let's hope so. Well, let's see if that's actually true, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, let's kick an open discussion. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to hand it over to you, Jake.
Yes. Craig, I appreciate actually your acknowledgement of Christian contributions to society, because oftentimes I think that where these debates kind of go off the rails is when the secularists want to completely throw the baby out with the bathwater, and they don't want to acknowledge any good things that Christianity has done for humanity. And I find that very annoying, and it just kind of where it makes this sort of thing where the debates arrive at a stalemate. And then similarly, I also think that there have been atheist scientists who have done great things for humanity as well. So it's good to start from there.
Well,
But,
I'm not going to ignore reality.
to-
Reality shows that when you look at history, I think mainly because religion, the people that were religious allowed them to be able to read and write more than people that weren't, because of schools and stuff and things like that, which tended to be more religious at the time. And I'm never going to deny the fact that, there were a lot of the great scientists, Newton and stuff were obviously religious, heavily so for a lot of the time. And, a lot of them actually said that the reason why they wanted to look at the universe was because of the influence of God that had on them, and and even seeing the universe in the way that physics allowed them to expanded their love of God and things like that. And I'm never going to deny what is obvious throughout history, but we also have to acknowledge the atrocities that religion has caused, whether it is things that you agree with or not. With the current.
Look, I'm happy to get into that, Craig. But I think that first of all, I'd like to just get a few clarifications just about your worldview, because I like obviously there is varying worldviews with secularists, with atheists, with people who refer to themselves as secular humanists, etc. So, what do you think we are? What do you think human beings actually are when you get to the bottom of it?
We are a a bunch of electrical and chemical reactions sitting inside a massive jellyfish controlling a skeleton in meat armor. Now, that is physically what we are. But the whole of that is more. That allows me to have consciousness. The millions and millions of years of evolution and has allowed me to exist as I am. And I look at the universe and think, wow, there is a billion cosmic coincidences that have come along to allow me as a being to exist. And I think that is absolutely wonderful. That gives me great happiness to know that somehow, out of all this chaos and randomness, out of the trillions of consequences and things that could have happened throughout the billions of years that the universe has existed, it's all come together and allowed me to exist in this way, in this form, with this consciousness and this ability to perceive the world.
All right, Jake's trying to jump in.
Understood. Yep. So a fantastic coincidence. So do you believe that human beings then have free will?
I don't know, honestly. I like to think that I have free will, right? Because I like to make my own choices. But at the same time, there are fundamental things that I can't control, right?
Just in terms of our everyday actions, like if I lift my arm right now, do you think that I'm choosing to lift my arm, or do you think that this is just a bunch of chemical reactions in my brain that has made me lift my arm?
You are making the decision to move your arm. You are physically making that decision to do that. And yes, there are certain aspects of our life that we can control. The question is whether we have free will is something that I am personally struggling with. All right. I don't know if I have free will. I don't actually think that I do in a lot of ways, because there is a lot of things that I can't control about who I am, the way that I am, and the things that I have to do. Do I make my own decisions? Yes. But are those decisions based on a bunch of circumstances that I can't control? Also, yes. The question of free will is something that I'm personally struggling with.
Right. So, but the idea of having a soul, I think what you would refer to as consciousness, or some sort of a governing faculty of our body that resides within our body, you think that that's something that's far-fetched, but do you think that the secular humanist or your personal interpretation of it, which is, I don't know if we have free will, apparently we're like a soup, we're neurons inside of a jellyfish or whatever, that makes more sense to you?
It makes more sense to me because it's what I can verify. I know the physical components of my body and what interactions in my brain allow these things to exist. And I can see how evolution has created what I am today. But when you look at actually what free will is, if I want to be personal for a second, right? I suffer from a condition called dystemic disorder, which is an anxiety and depression disorder caused by chronic pain, right? So I can't control a lot of my actions. I struggle with anger. I struggle with controlling my emotions sometimes. Does that mean that I don't have free will because I cannot control my emotions? What would you think?
Just to tie back in, if just to tie back into the social subject that we have here today, if you could explain how a secular society would be a better benefit to those struggles, and then maybe we could talk about that.
I think we're going to get there.
What I was getting at here, I can sort of round this off a little bit. Because what you're describing to me is you're describing that we are just sort of physical matter, and that we potentially may or may not have some sort of a faculty that you could refer to as consciousness, or whatever it is that you refer to it as, that governs our actions and what we do. So if we're not sure about this, first of all, how can we be responsible for any of our actions? And what's the point of even having this conversation? And why are we more valuable than animals, for example, who have all of these same faculties that you're referring to?
Because we have empathy. That's what it comes down to for me, is because we have empathy for other people. I don't like to see other people in pain. Pain is something that we all experience in one form or another, emotional, physical, or whatever. I don't like to see other people in pain. And for me, it is about empathy. What can we do in society to reduce the suffering of others? And again, I will absolutely acknowledge the help that Christianity has done towards that. Counseling services came from a lot of things that Christianity did. But in modern society, why can't we take that without then having the religious doctrine behind it and advance it in whatever way is better for society? A society evolves, the needs of humans evolve, the needs of counseling evolve. Secular humanism gives us the ability to say, well, what can we do to stop the bad things that are happening? Let's look at the world around us. Instead of relying on history and religious doctrines, let's look at right now and the suffering in the world, and what can we do as humans collectively to try and reduce that overall. That's why it's important.
Okay.
And that's why you and I are having this conversation, because I have empathy.
Well, I mean, with that, I don't really see any basis in the secular humanist worldview, and maybe you can explain it to me better, but I don't really see any basis as to why we should aim for the things that you say that you're aiming for. Because if we are just these products of evolutionary process, and if our nature is just that which wants to reproduce and survive, then what is actually wrong with things like slavery and genocide, for example? Why do we actually have altruistic actions? I don't actually understand that from the secular humanist worldview, because what you're saying is that we have empathy, but empathy is just one of the things that we experience. We also experience lust and selfishness and greed, and this is all much more in alignment with evolution than empathy and than altruism.
I wouldn't agree with that it's much more in line in evolution. Evolution is about adapting to societal pressures, and the current societal pressures include the fact that humans suffer, and like I said, the fact of it is that secular humanism just wants to stop suffering, wants to stop harm. And we are an evolution. I'm not saying that we are just a pile of meat that wants to reproduce. We are a pile of meat that has the ability to have empathy because of whatever's happened, because of the billions of cosmic coincidences, because of evolution. We have this ability within us to have empathy for other people. And those other things you mentioned, lust, greed, they can cause harm, when they're out of control. Nothing wrong with a little bit of lust. I'm going to Amsterdam for my anniversary and I really want some lust there, trust me. But, there's no reason why...
It's a funny place to go. It's a funny way to put that, actually, Craig.
Oh, I can't wait. You've no idea how excited I am.
Your wife. Just with your wife, I'm sure.
Yeah, I cannot wait. I need a holiday. Oh my God. Lust and that they can cause harm. So we will look at what can reduce the harm. Having empathy for other people. I might not like someone, but if I see them in pain, I'm going to do whatever I can to reduce that pain. And I think secular humanists, that is the driving goal. It's to stop suffering and allow humans to flourish in the best way that they can without restrictions and religious doctrine holding them back. But once again, I am never going to deny the good things that Christianity has done, but we also have to acknowledge the other side of it.
Okay, yeah, sure. But I mean, you can make the claim that you believe that we should do these things and that we should follow empathy, etc. But I actually don't see why it's not just as beneficial for me and the people around me, because I think that the best argument you can make from an evolutionary standpoint is to say that we look out for our kin. But then otherwise, outside of that, like, you're not running down the street to the neighbors to make sure that everybody's okay all of the time. This is something that's actually enshrined within the Christian worldview, is to make sure that everybody else around us and even in our community is okay. And this is something that Christians actually practice, and secularists aren't really known for practicing this. They talk a lot about it. Yes, we should make sure that everyone's thriving, but they actually don't have many institutions, and this isn't actually really reflected in the way that they live their lives. I don't really see from the evolutionary point of view why I can't be a secular humanist and say, actually, you know what I think is best for society is if we just get rid of all the poor people. And if we get rid of all the poor people, then we can all live in flourishing societies for hundreds and hundreds of years to come, and they won't be taking all of the resources.
We should get
before
rid
you
of all
push.
the poor
Before you
people.
push, I gotta ask, because I want to tie this back into the social topic.
I can't. I just said something. I can't. Those words. I said we should get rid of all the poor people, but I really need to finish that sentence, otherwise it could look bad. Just 1 second. We should get rid of all the poor people, but we should do it by getting rid of poverty. I really don't want to clip that,
so
please.
Charity.
You gotta get pushed. But I do want to ask Jake, just so that the audience gets clarity here, just based on the topic that we have here tonight, of how Christianity would solve for those issues, and if it was going to be implemented in the way that you see it. So I'll hand it back to Jake.
Yeah, I think I sort of covered that in my opening statement. The Christians are very focused on charity in the world. All of the biggest charitable organizations in the world are Christians throughout history. They've been going to other countries and helping them with missionary work, etc. So this is enshrined within the Christian worldview that we should love our neighbor and that we should care for the poor, etc. And we have a foundation for that because the foundation comes from us all being made in the image of God. And I don't see any reflection of that in history before Christianity, for example, where, like we said, that the gods were all viewed as capricious and all having to be appeased all of the time. And this just wasn't really happening. There was much more of a will to power mentality in society before Christianity came along. And the social revolution that Christianity brought with it was actually a radical change. And when I look at oftentimes when I look at the atheist liberal world, I sort of see a throwback to that sort of pagan time where people want to just pursue their own sexual desires and their own sexual urges and lust and greed and materialism. And I see that actually goes away from the teachings of Christianity, which have been beneficial for society. And through Craig's worldview, through the secular humanist worldview, I just see that actually being the logical conclusion of it, because there is no guiding principles and everyone just sort of is doing whatever they think makes them happy. And it's so arbitrary and open to interpretation. I don't see how it doesn't become completely fragmented. That's my contention there.
I did kind of mention the guiding principles before we can get into that. But I did want to touch on what you said about charities. And of course, again, I'm never going to deny a lot of the good work that Christianity has done with the charities that they put forward. However, there has been a lot of charities for Christianity that will only help Christian societies, but not all of them. But I wanted to point out the fact that secular humanism also has many charities, and as part of reducing harm, we consider helping those less fortunate, a vital thing to do because it will reduce the harm overall. Several well-regarded secular charities that operate based on principles of effectiveness, transparency, and secular humanism. Doctors Without Borders, Give Directly, the Against Malaria Foundation, Human Rights Watch, Oxfam International, Secular Student Alliance, Freedom from Religion Foundation, Centre for Inquiry, Direct Relief, and Pathfinder International. These 10 charities are known for their commitment to secular principles and effective aid, often relying on evidence-based approaches to philanthropy and aid distribution. They operate under the belief that assistance should be provided based on need, not creed, and are transparent about their operations and impact. Once again, never am I going to deny the positive impacts that Christianity has had on society. But I don't see why we can't take the positive impacts that Christianity has had and evolve those as society also evolves. And just one quickly to touch on what you said about evolution. I think there's a slight misunderstanding on evolution. Evolution doesn't just mean more people is good. Evolution could mean less people is good. For instance, if there's a time where there's a worldwide drought and there's less food, evolution would call for there to be less people. That would be better for society at the time. Whereas Christianity just kind of has a make more babies principle, which isn't always the best thing for society or evolution.
I would push back on that a little bit, just in the sense that, first of all, I totally agree with you that the evolutionary principle would say that perhaps you could interpret that, and I think the secular humanist worldview, you could also interpret that it is best to have fewer people. And this is why a lot of secularists are Malthusian in their ideology, that they believe that the world has finite resources and it would actually be a lot better if we had less people. But Christianity, our call is to be fruitful and multiply. And throughout the 20th century, for example, when we saw the big population boom, and even before that, the Malthusians, they thought that that there wasn't enough resources, so we actually had to cut back the population. You look at the population bomb by Paul Ehrlich, for example, it propagates this idea, but that was just completely wrong, because as we continue to develop as a society, and as we continue to develop scientifically, we found that we had abundant resources and we were able to feed everybody on the planet, no worries. So I would completely agree that the secularists could definitely make the argument that less people is better, but I don't really see how that's a good thing.
But just before we hand the ball back over to go back to his last point about an agreement that Christian organizations have done good in the world, and then he gave some lists of some secular organizations. Would you agree that some secular organizations have done good in the world, or would you contest, what they may have done and say that there might be
No,
something
I
else going on
completely
there?
agree. There'd definitely be some secular organizations that have done good in the world, but it just comes from a Christian ethic. That's the problem. They're just appropriating a Christian ethic. That's all. They're in Christian societies. All of their foundations, their ancestors are all Christian. The ethics and where they get their guiding principles from are all Christian, but they just want to deny the source and the foundation, and actually oftentimes ridicule and mock the foundation.
All right.
Well,
Let's carry on. Go ahead.
yeah. So when we're looking at you said about we were talking about poverty and things like that. What would you say to the fact that a lot of predominantly Christian countries, mainly Catholic for some reason, tend to have a lot of poverty? Like if we look at Latin America, where Christianity, mainly Catholicism, is dominant religion. Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia have substantial portions of their populations living below the national poverty lines, way higher than the global averages. So why, if Christianity is the main driving force in these societies, is there such diverse poverty ranges? There's people that are super wealthy, but there's a massive majority that literally live in shanty towns and stuff, well below the poverty lines.
Yeah, no, I'd say that the obvious answer for that is that they have experimented with too much communism and too much fascism and too many secular ideologies. And there is a lot of government corruption in those countries that has led to unbelievable wealth disparity. I've spent a lot of time in those countries, actually. And the amount of damage that has been done in those countries like Venezuela, for example, and even Brazil, Colombia, Chile, etc. They all have a very, very dark history over the last 100 years of experimenting with secular ideologies, with communism and fascism, etc. You see this, like we just said, in Chile, and even in places like Argentina. Argentina has, over the past sort of 50, 60 years, been completely ravaged by socialism, and these, unfortunately, are secular ideologies that lead to extreme corruption, wealth disparity. And if they were governed more by, yes, there are a lot of religious people in those countries, but their governments, unfortunately, are extremely, extremely corrupt.
Isn't it also true, though, that a lot of wealth is within, like, if we look at Catholics, they seem to hoard a lot of wealth. Churches, you got these like mega churches and stuff that are funded with millions and millions and millions of dollars, and like pastors that are super rich and things like that are that are taking their money from people that are still below the poverty line. Explain those kind of things to me within a Christian society. How is that allowed to exist if the idea is to reduce poverty, and yet we're allowed to make super rich pastors and mega churches that are worth millions and millions of dollars?
Yeah, I actually completely agree with you about those points. I don't think that should be able to exist, and I think that corruption, unfortunately, is just a part of some of the passions that humans have to, and selfishness and materialism is a part of these passions that humans have to try and not lean into too much. And a lot of these churches are these modern day sort of Protestant churches that have these mega sort of churches with their bands and all of this. They are extremely corrupt, and I don't think that they fall within the ethical purview of Christianity.
So, I mean, this is what I kind of mentioned in my opening about how Christian values can be twisted very, very easily to other means. In the case of super churches and mega churches and super rich pastors, they've twisted Christianity to make themselves rich. And then they say, oh, God told me to do this. Like there was a video about one of the super rich pastors and he was approached by a journalist. Why have you got this private jet? Well, God told me I should have the private jet. And
well, how can we justify that, though? How can he justify that within Christianity? Where does Jesus tell you to go and get rich off the poor?
You'd have to ask him how he twisted that to his words, because he will
I
sit
think it'd
there.
be a stretch. It'd be a stretch.
I agree that it could be a stretch, but it can be twisted nonetheless to do those things. The same way that, when slavery was starting to be abolished, many religious people in the south of the USA used religion and things said in the Bible to try and keep slavery. Yeah, I fully admit that Christianity had a massive, they were one of the massive reasons why slavery was abolished. But at the same time as that happening, people were using Bible and Christian values and things said that came from God to say that slavery should happen. So how do you deal with these disparities between religious views when they both say, well, no, this is religion, this is what the Bible says? How do you then decide who is correct and what is actually better for society?
Well, I think that we actually did decide who is correct, because slavery has been abolished in the entire Western world, and it's the only place in the world where slavery doesn't exist anymore. So that's a product of Christians believing in the human dignity of the individual, and that's something to be profoundly celebrated.
Or was that because your side had bigger guns?
Those people... well, maybe, but those people were wrong in that, and they've been proven to be wrong. And I think that that's just something that's just an achievement of Christianity. I don't see how it's a slight on Christianity whatsoever. And furthermore, if you want to bring up the modern churches and their corruption, etc., sure, there are definitely people who do corrupt things, and they do it in the name of God. And Christianity actually doesn't deny this whatsoever. We have many teachings within Christianity that prove that there will be false prophets and that there will be people who try and use the Lord's name for their own benefit. This is not something that's new to us whatsoever. But then, just in reverse, how would you describe how would you account for what I talked about before with these atheist secularists who, just as even a minor example, the people at the World Economic Forum, for example, they want a transhumanist future where we're all just sort of, our consciousness is just imported into a little pod, and they want to get rid of the poor people in the world and lower the population because they believe that there are too many people. How do you account for these extremely powerful secularists who have this view of the world?
Ooh, some of that Neuralink stuff.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I wouldn't say they are secular humanists. There is a difference between secular and secular humanists. Secular humanists are about making humans better, and I would say that
Can I provide some more context, Craig?
Sorry, let me just
provide some more context.
Just let me finish
sure,
one second.
Let's, well, if you're answering a straw man, then that's no good. So let's let him add some context.
Yeah. So I see this as like a that's not real communism type of answer, because these people, if you look at what they're doing at places like the World Economic Forum, what they're doing is they're getting together and they're talking about the global issues like climate change, for example, and these things which you also talk about. And if you look at the Secular Humanist Manifesto 3, a lot of the things that they are discussing there would be completely in alignment with the tenets of that doctrine. So they're talking about climate change and everything, but their prescription for how you actually sort out these issues is that we need to reduce global population. So how can you actually say that they're wrong based on your own Secular Humanist Manifesto? And how do you know that if you guys did get into power, that these extremely rich billionaires like Klaus Schwab, for example, wouldn't just come in and say, you know what, this is our interpretation of secular humanism, because we need to reduce the population or else we're not going to have enough resources. The sun is going to get more hot, and climate change is going to kill us all.
Yeah. Right. Again, the World Economic Forum aren't secular humanists. They're just a non-governmental, non-partisan international organization. They don't follow the Humanist Manifesto. They don't have reduction of harm as one of their founding principles, as one of their guiding principles. All the stuff that you said, I agree. It's batshit crazy. I don't want to put my brain into a pod. How am I going to smoke weed in Amsterdam if I do that? That's fucking ridiculous. I would just push back that the World Economic Forum follows secular humanist values. They most certainly don't. They're just interested in trying to make money for everyone, I think. Whereas
how not though? I don't understand how you actually justify that.
Because they're not secular
What
humanists.
part of it
They're
do
not-
they not? Because they do look at reducing harm in their own interpretation of it. And their interpretation of it is that we, the liberal elites, the liberal secular elites, should be in power because we believe that climate change is going to wipe out people, and all of these useless eaters is what they call them, useless eaters who are taking up all of the resources, causing climate change. For example, we need to get rid of farming. We need to make sure that everybody moves into this technological future, and that is what's going to be best for human flourishing. That's what they believe.
Yeah, but I would. They definitely don't follow the humanist manifesto and all of the things. They want to work on economic growth, global cooperation, addressing broad societal challenges. But I don't think that they have the same principles as secular humanists in the way that they're more about empathy and individual autonomy and things like that. They're just interested on how can society be more wealthy and more fruitful in the way of everyone having wealth. They're just a non-partisan thing, and you're kind of it is a bit of a straw man to say, well, they're secular humanist society, because they're not. They are just somebody that is non-partisan.
You think that none of them are secular humanists? None of them would consider themselves
They might be,
humanists?
but some of them might be Christians as well. I don't have a list of all of them, but even if some of them are secular humanists, some of them are Muslims and some of them are Christians or whatever, it doesn't make that entire organization the organization of whatever that is. The organization is a global corporation from multiple societies, from many different walks of life that are getting together to try and make the global economic infrastructure more sustainable. It's certainly not a secular humanist organization.
Well, this is it kind of gets into the problem, I think, of the tyranny of the majority. So if you and your buddies, your secular humanist buddies, got into power tomorrow, boom, click your fingers, everybody says, yep, secular humanism, we're electing you guys into government. And then those guys came along. And this is just a minor example. We could give much more egregious examples of people that might want to interpret the secular humanist manifesto in a much more heinous way. But if they were to get into power, I want to know the justification for what you guys would actually say to suggest that objectively they're wrong and their way of viewing the world is wrong, and this is not secular humanism. This doesn't follow the secular humanist manifesto. Because like I pointed out before, if they interpret it a certain way, they can just say that this is how we're going to increase human flourishing. This is an existential problem. We have to make sure that we reduce the population over time. We're not going to go and genocide anybody, but over time we reduce the population and we make for a thriving civilization. Like, why would that be actually wrong?
Again, they're not talking about individual autonomy of people and things like that, and empathy and reducing harm of individuals and society. They're just focused on economic stability of the global infrastructure in whatever way they see fit. But I don't think it's a bit of a side argument that doesn't need to be made, because they're not anything to do with secular humanism. They're just an individual organization.
Yeah, I mean, I guess another big problem that I've got with this is that the standards of secular humanism are just always changing. So I don't see how it could evolve to become pretty much anything. I mean, you look at some of the major just the social issues, for example, that we've got today, including transgenderism and abortion and LGBTQ. These are all heavily divisive topics. I mean, I brought up abortion
absolutely
in my opening statement. Hundreds of millions of people in the Western world alone view this as a moral abomination and will dedicate their entire lives to stopping this practice. So how does secular humanism actually account for this abomination?
Well, what is your views on abortion?
I'm pro-life.
So you don't think there should ever be abortions under any circumstances?
Unless the mother is going to die.
So what if someone is raped and then made pregnant? They have to keep the baby?
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at it from the logical standpoint, the baby inside the mother's womb is a human life. It's wrong to take a human life. Therefore, it's wrong to kill that baby.
what if that mother that's been raped and now has a bunch of medical problems, mental problems, has no ability to take care of that baby, and that baby is now born into an awful, awful, awful life for the rest of their existence?
So your solution is kill the baby?
No, I didn't say kill the baby. I'm just saying you're cool with that baby existing in a horrible, horrible life. You're saying that the mother
then, Craig,
that was
with that
raped.
logic,
wait,
let's
hold
just
on.
go to all the
Let me finish. Let me finish what I'm saying. Wait. Please let me finish what I'm saying.
Hold on. I know you want to finish up, but I kind of want to.
I was literally in the middle of a sentence
because I thought the point you were going to make, and I thought, oh, okay, that is interesting because you said, only if a mother's life is in danger, or the. Anyways, I guess I thought you were going to say, what if that person decides, I don't want to be pregnant and decides to off themselves, before that process. So that would be considered a risk of the life of the mother. I don't know. I thought that's where you were
that
going.
Wasn't
And
the
I
point.
thought
He was making the point that the baby would be born into this abject sort of horrible life. But I just think that with that logic, we could just go to all the orphanages in sort of India and Cambodia with limbless babies who have just suffered terrible birth defects and just kill them all.
No, babies that are born should be cared for. Any child that is ever born should be given a good life. And that's the problem with universally getting rid of abortion. I'm not saying that anyone should just have the ability to walk up to a clinic whenever they want and get an abortion. But I think it should be case by case. And that's what secular
Craig, you're a man of science.
Please let me finish, if that's okay.
We just have to make this a back and forth, though, because you do.
Yeah,
as
but
respectfully, though, Craig, you do tend to go on quite a lot with your
point.
answers.
I do need just to finish my point.
Let's make it quick.
To say that it's just universally abortion is bad is the wrong way to go. There should be case by case, decisions on what's going on. We should look at how that's going to affect the mother, the child in the future, how long on the pregnancy is. If someone is raped and they find very quickly that they're pregnant and they don't want to be, yes, they should have the right to go and get an abortion because they didn't ask for that child to be put in them, and they do not want at that point to have a child in their life. So yes, they should, in that case, have the right to go and have an abortion. But nobody should just have the right to, for any reason whatsoever, just walk up and say, get rid of the baby. It should be case by case.
Okay, sure. I mean, Craig, but you're a man of science. You know that life begins at conception, and you know that this is pretty established. If you're somebody who agrees in scientific consensus, you believe that scientific consensus among biologists is that when the egg is fertilized, that is when life begins.
I would disagree with that. That's the case. The biologists agree with that. Life would be considered when there's neural connections and things like that, because that's how we determine what it is. But that is, when there is life is, again, part of the case by case what I'm talking about. How far along is the pregnant? How dangerous is this to the mother and the baby? Every single case that someone wants abortion should be done on a case by case basis. And all of the things that have happened for that pregnancy to be there and the reasons for the mother to want the pregnancy to be aborted should be taken into account. But most importantly, the future harm that could be done should be mitigated.
Okay, so with that logic then, what would be the problem with a bunch of secular humanists coming along, taking power, for example, and saying that actually, you know what, we want to get rid of any potential suffering and poverty, so we're going to allow any abortions that women want to have whatsoever, even right before it, and also just after, maybe if the kid's going to be born with terrible birth defects, Down syndrome, limbless, they're going to have all of this suffering in their life, but we want to alleviate that suffering. Nobody's the parents will be fine with it. They don't want the baby is disabled. What would be the problem with what would be the problem with that prescription?
Well, Jake, once again, I just said that it should be on a case-by-case basis. That's how it should be done. The hypothetical of, a bunch of people get into power and say this. Well, what if Christians got into power and said that? That's the thing. What we should look at
we would be able to rebuke that.
What we should do is look at what is happening and what we're doing now, right? And I don't think secular humanists wouldn't say that, because that is not reducing harm overall. You're just saying, well, I think secular humanists would say this, and what if they got into power and said that? But that's not what they do. Secular humanists would all agree that each abortion should
Craig,
be
you
dealt
have to
with on a case
engage with the hypothetical.
Secular humanists
you
would
tend to
secular
waffle on
humanists
a lot
would
with these answers,
secular
and they're
humanists
very
would agree.
wishy-washy, and they
Secular
don't- and they
humanists
don't
would
really- Craig,
secular
Craig,
humanists
Craig,
would
we're
agree.
not gonna do this,
Sec-
'cause sometimes
Secular
I'm gonna have
humanists
to
would
come
agree.
in
All right,
and
let's
get
let Craig
clarification.
Secular humanists would
Hold on,
agree.
You're
hold
actually
on.
answering the
Secular
question.
humanists
Hold
would
on,
agree.
hold on.
The secular
All
humanists
right,
would
Craig,
agree that.
put 10 seconds on it. I know you're not going to stop. 10 seconds at the most, and then we're handing it to
Yeah.
Jake.
That's what I was doing. Once again, secular humanists would agree that it should be on a case-by-case basis. And I haven't waffled. I've been very succinct in my answer. The hypothetical is something that I'm not going to engage in because it's, well, what if they
That
did
is
this
time.
and I think this?
All right, I'm putting you on mute, and I'm asking Jake to come off. So go ahead.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so hypotheticals are just designed to test your logic, Craig. So this is something that you actually have to engage in if you want to defend your worldview. This is a completely reasonable hypothetical within your own worldview. This is not something that's outrageous. If your worldview is based around limiting suffering and reducing harm and doing what's best for the population, if there was a secular humanists that came to power and they collectively decided that the best thing to do for humanity to reduce suffering was to just get rid of all of those disabled babies because nobody's going to care for them. They're going to suffer their whole life. They might even live on the streets and be homeless. And these parents were fine with it. Then what would actually be the justification for stopping that? And the answer to this, let me just warn you. If you say that, well, secular humanists would never do that, that is a very, very weak answer. You have to actually provide a justification as to why it's wrong, okay? I know that you don't want to engage in the hypothetical, but this is a very, very reasonable hypothetical within your worldview.
I'm going to ask you to unmute there, and we're going to carry on. We still got, just let me read it.
Yeah, my thoughts are there.
6 minutes on the floor, but go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, it's not a hypothetical that I should engage with, but I will. The 10th point of the Humanist Manifesto, which talks about individual autonomy, would rebuke that, because we would have to look at the individual autonomy of both the baby and the mother. Once the baby is born, that baby's individual autonomy is taken into account. So first off, we are never, ever going to go, oh, that baby's born with a disability, let's get rid of it, because that baby's individual autonomy is not being taken into account. Secondly, the Humanist Manifesto is talking about reducing harm overall, and that is not going to reduce harm. It's going to cause mental problems for people if they're forced into a certain decision for certain ways like that. So frankly, the 10th point of the Humanist Manifesto, which is about individual autonomy, would rebuke your hypothetical being a position that could exist.
Okay, well, when does the baby become an individual?
Once it's born.
Well, okay, so then the day before it's born, then you can do that.
I never said that. Again, case-by-case basis.
That's the logic.
Case-by-case basis. If the day before the baby was born, it's going to kill the mother, then you would have a cesarean section, as the mother wanted that, and hopefully the baby and the mother would survive. Try and reduce harm on both sides. Again,
okay.
It's case.
Then,
again, Jake, the
okay.
important thing that you
Fair
are,
enough.
you are
I get the point.
The important thing that you keep going over and ignoring is that it should be and always will be a case-by-case basis. That is the thing that you keep ignoring. You are putting in point these hypotheticals of, oh, well, here's a unilateral decision that everyone's going to make. No, it should be a case-by-case basis.
All right, cool. You've said that a few times now. So
Yeah,
case
please
by
take that
case
into
making
account,
it
then.
completely arbitrary. So basically, if
No,
you
that
want,
doesn't mean arbitrary.
I'll just put a slight adjustment on the hypothetical then. If it's in the last week of pregnancy and the secular humanists have interpreted it to say this baby, not looking so good. It's got some deformities. Its family's poor, really poor. We need to reduce their suffering. How would you actually counter that then? Because the baby is not an individual. We don't need to worry about its individual autonomy. It's just purely because the family wants to get rid of it. The family's really poor. It has disabilities, and they allow for this. Would that be a practice that could be justified
Case-by-case basis,
if everybody is
all the
cool with
things
it?
would be case-by-case basis. Everything would be taken into account, and the mother and the baby's health would be taken into account. Again, case-by-case basis. That's all we have to do. But let me switch it back on you. Let's have a hypothetical that I hope you can engage with. God turns up and says, it's absolutely cool to kill all babies. Go and do it. What do you do?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, excuse me, it's a hypothetical. God has before, in the past, killed babies many, many, many times. So what if God appears now and goes, you know what? I don't like what's happening in the world. I want you to go and kill all the babies. Can you engage in that?
It wouldn't happen
please?
because it's not.
Oh no. Wait. You
God's
can't just say.
nature.
You can't just. Oh, yes, it is. I listed 10 things where God killed a bunch of babies, and if he's done it before, he can do it again. It's a hypothetical, and I'd like you to engage in the hypothetical, like I just did. What if God turned up and said, "I command you to kill all the babies because I think everyone is evil"? What do you do?
Well, like I said, Christian law has a new covenant, and you're talking about the old covenant, which is Jewish law. And,
no, I'm talking
it's
about
not
God.
within God's
I'm talking
nature
about God.
to do that. So he would say that's actually a
sorry,
logical impossibility.
Jake, sorry, it's not. It is within God's
So
nature
now it's
because
okay
he
to
has done it
interrupt,
before.
is it, Craig?
Hold on.
When you want clarification on the question, now it's okay to interrupt. I see.
Hold on, Jake. Let me be clear. It is within God's nature. You cannot say it's not within God's nature because God has done it before, right? God has the ability to change his mind if he wants, right? So if God turned up tomorrow and said to you, "I think the world is evil. I command you to go and kill all the babies to stop the evil," what do you do?
Like I said before, Christianity has a new covenant, and Christian law is not Jewish law. What you're talking about is Jewish law in the Old Covenant.
I said God.
So the hypothetical that you're talking about is actually a literal impossibility, and nobody could interpret Christian law that way. So
again,
what
I'm
you're
not
saying
talking
is a
about
logical
Christian law.
impossibility, whereas what I was saying to you was completely logically possible, that somebody could interpret secular humanism in that way.
Again, it's not a logical impossibility because God did it before. He has changed his mind once and he could change his mind again. Christian law is irrelevant. I am asking you specifically, if God turned up tomorrow, your God, and said, "I've changed my mind. I now think everyone in the world is evil and I command you to kill all the babies because I've done that before when I thought everyone was evil and now I'm doing it again. I'm changing our covenant. I'm changing the things that I've told you. As your God, I command you to kill all the babies." What do you do?
You can ask it in 10 different ways, and you can pour salt on it, and you can pour some lemon on it, but it's not going to change the answer. Is that God has a nature, and the Christian law is different to the Jewish law that you're speaking about. So, I mean, is this a theological debate, or are we talking about the efficaciousness of secular humanism and Christianity?
So I want to be clear. You won't engage in hypothetical because you say, well, God wouldn't do that, even though he's done it before. It's not about law. Wait, it's not about law or anything. God did these things before. God wiped out humanity because he didn't like it. God killed every firstborn because he was mad. So God, it's in his nature to do these things. So when you say that's not within God's nature, you are logically wrong because God has done it before. Logically, God has changed his mind. Logically, God could change his mind again. So without avoiding the question by saying, "Oh, well, I don't think it could happen," let's engage with the hypothetical, Jake. The hypothetical is your God hypothetically
Craig,
turns up.
why do you take 5 minutes to ask a very, very a simple question? I've answered the
I
question.
was very
5
nearly at
times.
the end
Like
of
I said
the
before,
of
this
the
is not a
sentence there, Jake.
theological debate. Craig, you get very
I'm
angry
going to
when
finish
people
what I'm
interrupt
saying.
you, and then
I'm
as soon as I
going to
start
finish what
talking,
I'm
you
saying.
interrupt me straight away.
But Jake, I'm going to
sensing a
finish
little bit
what
of
I'm
a double
saying.
standard here on your part.
There's no
Craig.
double standard,
And I know
Jake. I'm
you
gonna
like to
try and
just keep
finish what I'm
talking
saying.
and
Hold
on,
talking
let's
and
Jake,
talking
hold
so
on,
that nobody
hold
else
on.
can talk.
Are you okay there,
Hold
Jake?
on.
Do you need 5
That's
minutes?
not the way
Hold
that
on,
these
Craig.
things work, Craig. If you're
I
going to
was-
have that standard for me, we're going to have
I
it for
could
you.
hear when I stepped out and
What?
as I went to shut the kid's door, my daughter did say, "That guy's talking a lot." So I have to be fair. If the kids vote,
I was asking a
honestly, let's let Jake respond though.
Well, I haven't finished what I'm saying. Can I please finish what I'm saying here?
Quick, Bo, if you really can do that, all right?
Yeah, thank you. Right. Once again, I am not accepting Jake's get out of jail free card.
I was actually
don't think
talking, Craig, so I would appreciate it if
You
you'd
interrupted
actually give
me
it
there,
back to me
Jake,
when
actually. I was in the
talking,
middle of
because
talking.
I was talking, and then you decided to jump in and just start.
but I was in the middle of
filibustering
saying
the entire
something
debate.
there.
And I don't really
Jake,
appreciate
I was
that,
in the middle
Craig,
of
and I can
talking
talk
there,
as
Jake.
much as I want as well.
But
And if
Jake,
we're
I
going
was
to
in
do
the middle
this,
of
then I can
asking
just keep talking and talking and talking. If
Is
Craig
it
wants to
possible
just
that
keep
I could
talking and
get my
talking,
question
then
out?
I can just keep on talking and talking. And if we
All
want
right,
to have
you
this
noticed
debate
that
this
you're
way,
the one
Craig, then we
doing
can do
this.
it. We can do it, Craig.
All right,
I can talk too.
All right,
So
to both of you.
if
all right,
I could ask
we
my
don't want
question,
either of
that'd be
you talking
wonderful.
over each other. I put you both on mute, so we do want to try to get some back and forth on this. Hopefully, this, like I say, if if this is the final point that we can go down, where you guys are willing to engage with each other, that's totally fine. We can get into the audience questions.
Yeah.
But I do see you taking. Hold on, Craig. I do see you taking yourself off mute. I want to give you. You really want to put a bow on whatever it was you're saying. All right. I'm going to give you 10 seconds.
A little bit more than that, please, to get my point out.
No, you gotta really just sum it up real quick.
Give me 30 seconds,
Jake's
please.
got to have a turn to respond.
Yeah.
Give me 15 max, okay? And
please give me 30 seconds
minute.
because this will take 30 seconds for me to get my question out, please.
All right, just let me check in with Jake as well. Jake, are you okay
Ryan,
with that?
this is completely irrelevant to the conversation. The conversation is not about hypotheticals, about if God changed his mind. It's about the efficaciousness of it on society. So if you want to say how Christians could change their mind, then
can I
fair
ask
enough,
my question?
we could rebuke that.
I'm
just going to tell you it's irrelevant to the debate.
I'm
because I'm actually talking about the
it's not relevant
interpretations
to
of
the
secular
debate.
humanism. You're saying, what if God did X? If you wanted to say, what if Christians interpreted it differently, then sure, we could do that.
I mean, I haven't
asked the
question
and then Jake, if it is
it's fine.
truly
I mean,
what
if I'm
you
not allowed
have
to
just
ask my question,
described,
that's
you can
okay.
dismiss it and we can carry on. Where you've already, said what you've said. So, Craig, I'll let you answer the question, and if it is truly what Jake has just described, we're going to carry on. So, go ahead, Craig.
Christianity is based on God. That is the foundation. God, logically, has the ability to change his mind as he has before. God killed the entire world because he was mad. So, logically, that could happen again. Jake, I'm asking you to engage in the hypothetical. The hypothetical, God changed his mind again, turned up and said, I think the world is evil. I want you to kill all the babies because I say they are evil. It's happened before. It can happen again. It is logically possible. Engage in the hypothetical because that is bad for society.
Okay, so once again, what we've got here is Craig using low-tier, Reddit-tier type arguments to try and switch the debate because
right. So he didn't engage in the hypothetical.
Run
away from the hypothetical.
Here we go again. Craig
just
can't
run away
himself.
from it.
He's got
Run
impulse
away.
control issues.
He's
got impulse control issues.
He's on mute. So
what are we doing, Craig?
He's the one that's interrupted loads more than me.
I tried to be very respectful during this debate, but Craig has just been able to.
Go ahead. I want you to respond to the question, and he's on mute. He cannot unmute himself. So if you can respond to the point that he was trying to make there.
I'm honestly shocked. I tried to be a gentleman about this, Ryan.
I have
but Craig has just been completely unhinged. Relax, brother. It's okay. We can get a few answers. We can let each other talk. So the debate is not about hypotheticals about God. If you wanted to say a hypothetical about how Christians might change their mind and how they might implement certain things if they got into power, then sure, we could talk about that. That would be a fair hypothetical. However, this is just a completely irrelevant side tangent that we don't need to go down. I'm asking you about how secular humanists might interpret the Secular Humanist Manifesto. And I think that was a completely fair hypothetical. But this, what if God changed his mind? It's just not a fair hypothetical within the purview of the debate. This is not a theological debate whatsoever. This is just about how Christian interpretations have changed the world. Where do we see Christians killing babies around the world? We don't see that. But what I'm telling you about the hypotheticals about secularists, we see this littered throughout the world in terms of how secularists view things like abortion and how secularists view things like population reduction. This is happening around the world. So your hypotheticals are actually illogical and they're not happening in the material world. So it's completely irrelevant.
All right, let's hit it.
Yeah. Well, secular humanists aren't going around saying.
I can't hear you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. In the same way,
secular come off mute.
In the same way, Jake, secular humanists aren't going around saying, "Well, we should all do this." So it's also a logical impossibility because we don't see that happening in secular countries. And I have to be honest here. You have actually overtalked me way more than I've overtalked you here. I'm not sure what's going on. You called it saying that I've got impulse control issues, but you've constantly interrupted me when I've been in the middle of trying to get a point out. In fact, I've made a note of how many times you've interrupted me over me interrupting you, and it's way more. Are you okay, dude? Like, seriously, are you all right?
Is that a question? Do you want me to answer that question?
No, like, seriously, are you okay?
Yeah, no,
because you seem to think that I've been, like, unhinged and stuff, yet you're the one that's overtalked me the majority of the time.
Is that a rhetorical question?
No, it's a serious question. You're the one that's overtalked me the majority of the time. So why would you say that? Are you actually okay?
I think, Craig, if you watch the tape back, you're going to be very, very, very surprised if you think that's the way that
I've
the
been
debate's
making
going.
notes of it, dude.
I feel like, hold
yeah.
on there. I'm going to ask you both. Well, I don't think I need to meet you, Jake. I think we should move into the Q&A. I'm sorry, Craig. I think it would be best if we let the audience push some of the conversation a little bit here, because it does seem like we're getting into a little bit of tit for tat back and forth, and it's not... it might not be as constructive as what we might hope, So I'm counting on you, audience. We're going to take your super chats here, and we're going to ask those questions. We've been at it for about an hour 10, hour 15. So I am going to give the speakers a chance here. I'll just take you off mute there, Craig. If you want to step out for...
Why am I being muted? I'm like not over talking. I'm really confused.
Oh yeah, hold on. I just needed to. If I can just get one person who's talking right then and there, and everything gets quiet, it's totally cool. So, anyways, if you guys need to step out for a second, you want to grab yourself a drink, you need to use a washroom, that's totally cool. But we are going to answer audience questions in just a short minute here, and I'll put up
closing statements or no, Ron?
Well, can I just finish the point that I was making then, and that is that it is an absolute.
Hold on. You asked if you could complete the point, and then you just carried on. I'm going to ask Jake if he wants to carry on with the conversation before Q&A, before you ask the question. So do you want to carry on with the conversation?
It wasn't.
For
I just wanted to make my
5-10
point.
minutes,
That was all.
Or do you want to jump into Q&A?
Well, that portion of the conversation is completely irrelevant. Craig did not answer my question. He just, every time I say these things, he says, "Oh, that's not real secular humanism," and it's just, it's a pointless conversation. We could move into a new topic if he wants to. I'm happy to move into other topics, but that particular one is going nowhere.
Muted. Hello. I can't hear anybody.
Hello.
Hello. Did you just mute yourself?
Hi. No, it wasn't me.
Oh,
I can hear you.
Oh,
go.
my Starlink did a forced update. Then that's what it was.
No worries. All right. Well, we are going to get into the Q&A then.
Oh wait, can I not?
Try to
Oh,
ask some
right.
questions.
I've been trying to make a point, but I keep. No, never mind. It's fine. I won't make a point. I've been trying to say something for ages.
Every time we've been going in a couple circles. I'm so sorry, Craig. I think we should go into the Q&A.
Can I just finish what I was saying, if possible? I've been trying to for a while, but every time I talk, someone mutes me or stops me from talking. I've literally just.
That's probably a good thing, Craig. It's probably for the best for the audience, for us, for everybody. So
you know what? It's fine.
The sass is coming out. Oh
it's fine. It's
probably
fine.
Move on to the
it's fine if Jake wants to run away.
Quite insufferable in this conversation.
If Jake wants to run away from this, that's fine.
Right, hold on,
Brian.
Hold on. 30 seconds. Okay, if it's a question.
No, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Never mind. I've been trying to politely make a point for a while, and I've not been allowed. So it's absolutely fine.
All right, fine. No, I'm not. I won't accept the meta-analysis now. You behave over there.
Am I allowed to make my point? Is that is it possible that I could actually get a few minutes to talk about being interrupted, or
If it's not going to be like a meta-analysis of like...
No, it's not a meta-analysis. It's trying to be the point I've been trying to make for a while.
We're ready for it. I'm begging you. Go for it. You're
Are you sure? I'm not going to get muted again?
Jake's on mute. Come on, roll it. Let's hear it.
Right. Yeah. So Jake has run away from the hypothetical. I've engaged with his hypothetical. He's saying I'm being insufferable, whereas he is refusing to engage in the actual conversation. The question is about what is better for society, Christianity or secular humanism. Christianity is based on God. God has previously killed all of humanity, including all of the children, because he was in a bad mood. It is logically possible that God could do that. Jewish, Christian, does not matter. God is the foundation for Christianity, and if Christianity is what is going to be for society, we have to look at what God does. God kills babies. The hypothetical that Jake refuses to engage in is a completely logically possible one based on the nature of God. If Jake doesn't want to engage in the hypothetical that would show that it is bad for society to have God in charge, I completely understand, because it is an untenable position he cannot hold, and is frankly a terrifying blow to Christianity as the basis for society, having an evil God that kills children.
All right. Somehow you managed to have a closing statement before the.
It wasn't a closing statement. It wasn't a closing statement. It was my point.
It basically was. And now you're on mute because he was on mute while you were talking.
All right.
Go ahead,
can let me respond to that, Ryan?
For sure. Go ahead. You got 1 minute.
I don't think perhaps Craig realizes this, but I'm not sure if he does realize this. But the utter stupidity of that statement that he just said is almost unbelievable to me, because I've been posing to him interpretations or potential interpretations of the Secular Humanist Manifesto, and he has been continuously telling me that it's not possible that people could possibly interpret the Secular Humanist Manifesto as such. But then he is up in arms by saying that it is logically possible that God could come back and change his mind and tell everybody to kill people, and I'm running from it. He says that I'm running from the logical possibilities, whereas Craig has out and out refused to engage with the hypotheticals about how secular humanists could logically come back and could logically come to power and interpret the Secular Humanist Manifesto. That is so much more logical. Human beings getting together, atheists getting together and interpreting the Secular Humanist Manifesto is a lot more logically possible than God coming back tomorrow and telling people to kill babies, Craig. So please hold yourself to a similar standard, brother. It is embarrassing to see that.
All right, we're going to jump into the Q&A before you guys get it back into it. I'm going to remind everybody once again that we are on Instagram, so check out the promo there on my right. All right, Modern Day Debate now on Instagram. Our link is in the description. Check it out. And let's get into those questions. Yonder Stone. Yonder Stone says, can Jake steelman what secular humanism is? So I'll let you do the steelman, and then we'll ask Craig if that is a correct reflection of what he's been putting down. So go ahead there, Jake.
Yeah, secular humanism is a secular ideology that believes in rationale and human thriving, and that doesn't believe in any sort of supernatural guiding principles or laws or intervention. They believe that we're a product of evolutionary process, and that we've arrived at this place in society because of our innate desire to survive, and that we should be looking to the future in a way that adjusts for human thriving.
Yeah. Just before I respond to that, I'm going to be clear that I did engage with his hypotheticals and even refuted them using the 10th point of
keep
the
it in your
Humanist
pants,
Manifesto.
Craig. That's not what the conversation is about.
Are you okay?
Are you
okay?
On.
Do you need a minute?
You're like
do you need
a
a minute?
scorned ex-wife.
Do you need a minute? Are you okay?
Hell have
Just
no
take
fury
a breath,
like
dude.
a woman scorned.
Take a
I'll
breath.
tell you what.
Take a breath. Take a breath.
All right, let's let him respond.
Take a breath. Take a breath. Yeah.
I know where I'm
yeah.
from.
I even refuted what he said using the 10th point of the Humanist Manifesto, which he tried to cut me off there because he knows I destroyed him with it.
Like a scorned woman. He's got a key my tires.
You've never met a woman before?
Slash my
Is that a
tires.
problem?
I haven't actually. Craig, never met a woman.
Are you worried that I destroyed your argument with the 10th point of the Humanist Manifesto? I literally refuted what you said. Literally engaged with your hypothetical, which you refused to do. Yeah, it's fine. You got it basically right. We don't need to rely on magic that doesn't exist and a god that at a whim could decide to kill all of humanity. The fact, Jake, that you say it's logically impossible for God to do something he's already done is mind-blowing.
All right, let's ask the next question. I'm a Hunter says, why is it that these atheists always argue against Christianity with slavery? Secular societies also promoted slavery. Excuse me. And it was thanks to Christians that we freed the slaves.
Could he please point out a secular society that promoted slavery? Because I can't think of one, and I already pointed out... Communism.
Soviet Union. Soviet Union, brother.
Well, obviously, with secular humanist society.
Secular. He said secular.
No. Yeah, but obviously, this debate is secular humanism, which is what we're talking about, and there is a big difference between. And there is a big difference between secular and secular humanists. Secular just means not religion. Secular humanists are people that have
once again not real.
Not questions for Craig. Hold on, we're gonna let Craig answer because it's for him.
Oh, Jake really does have impulse control issues. It's crazy. Secular society is not the same as a secular humanist society. Secular just means no religion. Secular humanists has our, manifesto that we follow. So communists are not secular humanists. So if the super chatter could point out to me a secular humanist society that endorses slavery, that would be great. But I did already point out the
5 seconds.
What Christianity had in getting rid of slavery, the good things they did for that. However, it was also twisted for the other side.
All right. Let's
So,
see.
with that logic, though, Ryan, I do need to note that all of the big churches that he brought up and the corrupt institutions and the Catholic corrupt institutions, that's not real Christianity, okay? So you're not allowed to make that argument, Craig, because that's not real Christianity, okay?
Again, I didn't say
let
it's
Craig
not real
respond
secular
and-
humanism. I said secularism is not secular humanism. They're different things.
And those churches are an outgrowth of Christianity.
No,
aren't they, according to your
Christianity is
worldview?
Christianity. Secular humanism is not secularism. They are literally different things. Christianity is Christianity.
Secularism-
You all have God.
Oh, God, you are so insufferable to listen to, Craig.
Do you not know the
Secular
difference between
humanism
secularism
is
and
an
secular
outgrowth
humanism?
Of secularism, you dumbass.
They are
How
not
do
the
you
same
know that?
thing. They are
Secularism-
not the same thing. Christianity is
secularism,
Christianity.
Tree,
hold on, we're
secular
gonna let Jake
humanism,
respond.
branch of tree. How do you not see
Secular
that?
humanism is not secularism. Secular humanism would not agree with slavery because it goes against the
Oh,
10th
dear.
point of the Humanist Manifesto, which talks about human autonomy. That goes against slavery. Secularism is not secular humanism. Christianity is Christianity. The 5,000 plus sects of Christianity are all Christianity.
All right, we're next one coming in. Cole Marshall says, much love to Craig and Jake. I love both your content. There are no winners or losers in a debate. Thanks for doing this, guys. So
You're welcome.
Yeah, just
And Jake, I am having
big,
fun. I
round
know
of
we're
applause.
passionate, but it's cool. Enjoying it.
It's so good.
No, I think we're all having fun. You guys said you didn't need me at all, but I think we made a quick liar out of this.
Can I ask Jake a quick
on
question?
that one.
But Jake,
don't know, but
this is an
I think
off-topic
things are saying
question. Your background there, you've got your sound panels and stuff up. What are you using as a backlight? Is it just that lamp to kind of show the panels?
No. I've got a whole LED light right here above me.
I've got an LED light looking at me, but your panels behind are more lit up than mine. You can kind of see them more.
You're wondering how
I'll send you a video off camera, Craig. Message me. I'll send you a video.
I appreciate that because this is my new studio. I don't really know how to light it properly yet, so I like the way yours is lit. It looks nice.
I don't want to look ghostly either. Come on, help me out. I look like Casper over here with a wig. All right, let's carry on. Cole Marshall says, the much love to Craig. Thanks for that. We appreciate it. Unfair Funfair says Craig should stick to yelling at flat earthers. Oh,
I mean, that is fun.
Is that what you do?
That is fun, and I have done 1,200 of those debates. So I can do that while sleeping. And this is what, Jake? You're my 4th debate in this topic. So I'm learning the arguments and learning the way to do the rhetorical questions and stuff. So I'm getting there and I'm having fun. But why would I give up right at the beginning of something? If you're bad at something, do you just stop doing it? How do you ever improve in life? What's the point in that? You're the kind of person that would never achieve anything in life because if it's hard and you're not great at it straight away, you don't keep doing it. Am I great at doing these debates right now? Probably not, because I'm new at it. Am I going to stop doing it? No, because that's how you get better at something.
There you go. You get a solid C from me. All right, no, I'm just kidding. All right, I'm not going to make any commentary. I'm just trying to trigger you a little bit, just to have fun. All right, so bounce them off people and see how they hold up. Think about things. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. Do you share that, Jake?
Yeah, for sure, Ryan.
Awesome.
You know how to have a lot of fun like that night we shared in Vegas, so...
Wait, was that video, Ryan? Was that video you
Crazy
sent me and you
bastard.
said, please don't show that to anyone?
Yeah,
That'd be the one.
Wait, that was yours?
Where
Where did you get the donkey from?
Oh, guys, hold on. No, all right. We're acting a bit. I swear, guys. But honestly, they'll think that there's something actually fishy going on. Honestly, if you would have seen me at the bachelor party last week, you probably would have said that was enough. Oh man! All right, Richie, thank you for your $5 super chat. It says, Craig, how is killing 63 million humans in the womb prioritizing humans' well-being? I thought you had autonomy as long as you don't hurt others.
Yeah, I've answered this. I don't agree with current policies on abortion either way. The general consensus among secular humanists, as far as I'm aware, is that abortion should be done on a case-by-case basis. There should be no universal decision. all medical needs and societal needs, and all should be taken into account, and everything should be looked at. The mother is the priority in these cases, but obviously there is a baby involved. But everything has to be looked at. It's a complicated thing, and no one's ever going to be happy. Everyone, there's going to be sides that are unhappy with whatever decision is made. Right? No one is ever going to be happy with every decision around abortion. That's why it should be a case-by-case basis, and I don't think there is a right answer.
All right. If everybody left it at that point there, Jake, would you agree with what Craig is saying, or would you have a contention? With
No,
what he's putting down?
it's a completely absurd way to look at it. And I mean, case by case basis, all that means is we do not have an answer for this. It's completely arbitrary, and people can determine it however they want. And if there are people who are looking at it on a case by case basis, and there's some psychopathic atheist secularists who believe that babies don't have any intrinsic value and they're just a clump of cells, then they'll just kill those things. And what's to stop you from saying that that's wrong? So case by case basis just means absolutely nothing.
All right, let's carry on with both of our speakers' thoughts on the floor. Unfair Funfair says Craig needs a slap and a hug in that order.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, guys. I've had a stressful bloody time. Apparently, you need a roof on your house, and when a storm removes your home and you have to take your entire life and family and move 100 miles and restart everything from scratch, you get a little bit stressed, so I could do with a hug right now.
All right, well, we send our virtual hugs to Craig for your unfortunate situation.
Sitting down doing this debate.
Tough.
You
might be tough when you're debating sometimes, but when it comes to having to relocate, nobody.
Sitting down and doing this for you guys is kind of the first time that I've had to kind of sit down and relax today. So this is. I'm on edge the entire time right now, so I appreciate Jake being gentle with me.
It's only because your studio is so shitty. No. There you go.
Shut up, green screen, man. All right, turn off your green screen. Let's see what's behind you, Ryan. Hey?
Oh, my God. There's laundry and
exactly.
6 guitars on the floor.
At least Jake can be tidy up.
Oh man, I'll show you. I'll have to show you the pretty pink guitar before I go. It looks straight out of Steel Panther. It's from 1986, so maybe 87. I gotta date it. So, but it looks funky. I like it. Guy Incognito asks another question. $10 Canadian. Oh, Canada. Hello, my Canadian brother. Craig, secular government of Canada made available deadly narcotics such as heroin and meth, leading to deaths of tens of thousands. They still believe they're reducing harms. How are they wrong? Also win, Jake.
Right. I don't know about the policies around the Canadian drug. Ryan, could you... Is that true what he said? Did Canada make drugs just completely legal for people and stuff? Is that what he's talking about? I'm not sure of what he's exactly talking about there.
Yeah, I think it was something about sanitized needles that were being made available in Alberta that they might be referencing. I'd have to look into maybe more modern references, but going back through my memory bank, I think that's what they might be talking about is that the government was providing an outlet for sanitized needles and disposal for those as well. And I don't know if the actual drug, like I said, I'd have to look it up, but I highly doubt that the actual drug was being endorsed or provided by the government. But I do know that there were sanitary needles that were being provided, and that caused some controversy. But that was 7 or 8 years ago. So
okay,
I have to look in to see if there's something.
If you want my opinion on that stuff, and I think the majority of the secular humanists I've spoken to agree with me, not all of them, is that I think drugs should be legal, but regulated. Because if people want to take drugs, they're going to take drugs. All right, they're going to find a way. Even if the law says it's not happening, they're going to find a way. And if the law says it's not happening, they're going to find a way to do it from people that will put whatever in it. If drugs are legal and regulated, then they know what they're taking. That doesn't mean that they should just be given to everyone. If you're addicted to a drug, you should have a safe place to do it, but there should be help put in place to help you off of that drug. but to reduce the possibility of dying from the fact that you're addicted to that drug, it should be available for you to take in a safe space, and then the help available to get you off of that drug. Just banning drugs outright has the negative consequence of pushing it to the black market, which then causes more deaths through bad things. So that's my personal opinion on it, and I'd be interested to hear Jake's.
All right, Jake, what would be your answer to this?
I think that you can make a decent case. The best case that you can make is for weed to be legal, just because of the natural side of it. But other drugs, I don't think that there's any really good case for them to be legalized, because they're synthetic and they're extremely damaging. And I don't think that even look at places like Portugal hasn't yielded very good results. And oftentimes, like I used to work at the Salvation Army for 2 years, and I used to work with drug addicts all the time. And oftentimes what you see with drug addicts is they actually don't want to use these facilities, these clean facilities and stuff, because a lot of the time the rush is about how they acquire the drugs. And a lot of the time their communities are all in the streets, and it's very hard for them to adjust to sort of normal life. So I don't see, and we used to try and get people into housing all of the time, and used to try and do all of these things, and people would just, these people would just reject it. So I see that as a method that would fail. And also the idea of having fentanyl legal, I just don't see any justification for that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I agree with that. I agree. I mean, I agree with you, Jake. It's very difficult. But the way, do you agree with me that the making it illegal means that universally, and such a bad thing means that they have to go to unscrupulous places to get it, which means that they might not know what they're getting. They might get some, weed laced with fentanyl or something, if they're not able to get it from a regulated place. I mean, maybe legal isn't the right, maybe not completely legal, but, if someone's addicted to it, maybe then they can get prescribed the actual drug to do in a safe place. But then I'm interested in what you said there about the rush of where they get it from.
I have to iterate. I've lost 3 friends to fentanyl, and just to remind the audience that none of the fentanyl that they had passed away on came from Canada, and it came from the ground. So just fun fact. But still, I think everybody does agree that it's a dirty, nasty thing. Everybody probably has a horror story or two to go around to say, that they were affected by this in a negative way. Like I said, people that I made music with growing up, passed away very young from that drug coming, into Canada. So I definitely feel very strongly with that, but we do need to carry on. We got lots of super chats. And
can I just ask Jake one quick question, if that's all right? Because I'm just very interested in this. Very quick. Jake, when you were working with them, the drug addicts, would there be anything that would encourage them to use a safe space? Because you said that they like to not use it because of where it's part of the community and the rush. What would there be any way to help encourage them to use the safe space that they would like, do you think?
Perhaps there would be a way, but even with the we used to integrate them into housing a fair bit and try and get them on Centrelink, which is like the dole, or what do you guys call it over there, like government funding or whatever. Yeah. And we would put them into housing, and then these people, we'd find them sleeping on the floor next to their bed, and they'd have all of the windows open and everything. So it's just like a lot of the time these people are just sort of born into these environments where homelessness and drug addiction and everything is just a part of the way that they live. And the idea of actually doing it in a clean facility is a little bit foreign to them. And even a lot of the time, it's a real interesting underbelly, the whole homeless and drug addict scene. In America, it might be a bit different because obviously there's because the numbers are growing so much that people have been subject to that lifestyle for all sorts of reasons. But it's
so do you think maybe decriminalization for users, rather than making it completely legal, decriminalization for users and help is better than just making it legal and chucking them in jail?
Maybe.
Yeah, let's carry on.
Okay.
Like I said, that one hits home for a lot of people, I'm sure, because there's a lot of, like I say, the people that are affected by it, that sort of thing. So thank you so much for your super chat. We have a lot of fun. Don't ask me questions about Canada right now there, Craig. I'll get all crazy. JSS Tiger says, to the Christian God, testing our faith, while not revealing himself, is like a father abandoning his family and expecting them to still respect him. This is from JSS Tiger. So,
Thank you, Tiger.
Do you feel like God should not have respect where they're not directly intervening in these affairs?
No, because the idea of God is in the Christian worldview is that God is a personal God and he hasn't abandoned us. He loves us and he's always with us.
Why am I in so much pain all the time then? That's not love.
Well, I mean, suffering is a part of life.
Why do I need to suffer this much? What have I done? I've only been good in my life. Why am I suffering so much?
I don't know. It's just that's the problem of evil, and if we want to dive into that, it's going to be a deeper, more. I
don't think it's evil. I'm just injured,
and
I'm just injured and suffer all of the time. Well,
perhaps it'll make you stronger, Craig.
I don't know. I've only got one leg that works.
Maybe there'll be good that comes out of it. People will see your immense bravery and they'll be inspired by it to go and change the world.
Oh wait, so I've got to fucking suffer for other people. Nice.
Hey, 1,000 push-ups.
If someone's got to do it, someone's got to do it, right?
Right. You were trying to inspire people. You told me this yourself.
Yes, I know.
You were like, hey, I might be losing my leg, but I can still do 1,000 push-ups on a live stream. So you know what? You take it. Take it.
Man, that made my fucking lats hurt.
Have
like
some
crazy.
Grace. Come on here, Craig. He's giving you something here. All right. Awesome. Akinjo Shabab says, laws need a lawgiver. Chaos cannot write rules.
Say that
Any
again.
thoughts on the panel? Laws need a lawgiver. Chaos cannot write rules.
Well, that's a nice assumption.
Okay. Well, let's carry on. They follow up and say, this is also from Akinjo Shabab says, Craig, logic needs a source. Randomness breaks it. So
again, that's
I
a
think they're saying that
lovely.
there must be an ultimate source for
That's
logic.
a lovely assumption that there must be a creator for logic. Who says logic hasn't always existed? You know, literally to say, oh, there must be a creator is just an assumption that there must be a creator. I don't agree with that assumption. I'm not saying there isn't a creator. Let me be very clear, all right? I am never going to say I can prove there's no God. There is no creator, because that's not something I could ever personally prove. I just don't have a belief in God. But can I prove there is no God? Can I prove that no one created the universe, that one being didn't set it all in motion and plan everything? Absolutely not. That's not something I could ever prove. Let's be clear.
So you're an agnostic?
I don't have a belief in God, which I think makes me an atheist. I think agnostics they don't know either way. I'm just saying that I have to hold the intellectually honest position that I could never disprove God, because that's not something within the realms of science, and science is about testing hypotheses and things like that. And there's no way within science to test if God exists. So if I have to be a man of science, which I am, then I have to admit that I could never disprove God. But I still call myself an atheist because I don't have a belief in God.
So, yeah, I mean, if you just look at the etymology of the word atheist, it's theist, and the negates the theist, meaning that there is no God. So the idea of being an atheist is that you believe that there is no God. But the idea of being agnostic, if you look at the etymology of that, it's gnostic, so without knowledge. So if you're without knowledge of if there is a God or not, then that would make you an agnostic.
I mean, that comes down to the distinction between...
You say that there is no God.
Well, that comes down to the distinction between belief and knowledge, right? I don't have a belief in God. Do I have a knowledge of God? I mean, no one has... I have as much knowledge of God as anyone else. I have all the sources that everyone else has, but, you know... it comes down to the difference between belief and knowledge, right? And I have to be intellectually honest and say that I could never disprove God. I don't think anyone could hold the position and say I can prove God doesn't exist. So, I mean, to have it as strict as that, everyone would have to say they're agnostic, because nobody could ever say they can disprove God. So, I mean, for the fact that I say, yeah. Sorry, it's an interesting discussion, and I get the etymology of it, and it's a very, it comes down to knowledge versus belief.
Yeah, it would be interesting to have you guys back for a conversation that is less tied into societal affairs and more into these the directions that you're getting into, more of the theological arguments and logical arguments. So it would be interesting to get you guys back for more of that as well. But in the meantime, yeah, I do want to press on. JSS Tiger says list of corrupt prosperity gospel preachers. Now, this is according to JSS Tiger. I gotta cover my arse, all right? Benny Hinn, Joel Osteen, Jesse Duplantis, Kenneth Copeland, Peter Popoff, Oral Roberts, Crefla Dollar, Mike Murdoch, Ed Young, etc. From JSS Tiger, not Ryan. All right. So are all of these preachers, you guys both agree that these guys are prosperity gospel preachers and that they are corrupt? Or do you find that there was a name in there that you're like, nope, that person should not be in that list?
I only recognize two of the names, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'd agree.
The ones that I recognize, I'd agree. But
all right, today we're going to get excited about... All right, no, I'm not going to do the whole thing. All right, JSS Tiger follows up, says, to the Christian, let's undo the scientific revolution and let religion supplant facts. Sound good? Says JSS Tiger.
Well, I mean, Christianity laid the foundation for the scientific revolution. I don't see how Christianity is not synonymous with science, and Christians believe that there is an ordered, intelligent world, and doing science and these sorts of measures and philosophy and everything actually helps us to uncover God's creation. So, yeah.
Do you agree, Jake, that the reason a lot of the science came from Christians at the time was because Christians were the ones that had the ability to read and write? People that weren't religious generally weren't educated in the way. It was the religious people back then that had the ability to read and write, especially the ones that studied the Bible. So do you agree that it's not necessarily because they were Christians, it's more because they had education?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to just draw a distinction, though, between other cultures and societies that had the same access that didn't do that. Like, for example, if you look at Islam post the Muslim Golden Age or whatever, they had an age where they went back to this sort of Islamic fundamentalism, where they stopped studying science, because they just said that, okay, everything is just the will of Allah and we don't need to study this anymore. So there are other societies that have had access to this, but that haven't actually gone down that same path. So I think that it is something that is actually kind of unique to Christianity, that they were so involved in science and philosophy and education.
And what about when you look at like ancient Greece? The creators of most modern mathematics, obviously they weren't Christian. Doesn't that show that you don't have to have a Christian foundation?
I never said that.
No.
I never
okay,
said
no,
that.
that's cool. I don't want to strawman you, but my point is that it doesn't have to necessarily be Christianity is the thing that made science happen. It is more the fact that they had an education. And yeah, you're right. When the Muslim de-evolutionists came along and just said, no, don't study, you don't need to, because that's dumb. That stopped education in total.
That's for Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that Christianity and science are not necessarily like mutually exclusive. These are two things that can go together, that have gone together. Same with the Greeks. The Greeks were very interested in philosophy and were very interested in mathematics and science. And it's not a matter of that you have to be a Christian to do science. It's just a matter that Christians do enjoy like those sort of educational pursuits.
I'll agree with that.
All right.
I'm totally on board with what Jake's saying there.
Perfect. You know what's great is that every once in a while we do have a moment of concession where everybody's like, you know what, I agree, huzzah. We, like I said, we should have a soundboard and some fireworks that go off when these moments happen.
I have a little bit of a problem with a lot of people that debate on my side of this, that they do kind of ignore a lot of the things that Christianity has done, and it's completely unfair to say that Christianity is just bad, because there is a lot of good that has come from it, right?
Are you saying there's a lot of people on your side that are partisan hacks? Is that what you're telling me?
Maybe, because I've watched a lot of these debates recently, and I don't like the way that a lot of the people on my side debate. I'm not a fan of Matt Dillahunty in the slightest. I don't like the way he goes about things, and a lot of other people on my side, I don't think they debate in an intellectually honest fashion. They ignore a lot of the good things that have come from Christianity, and that's not a way to do it. You have to acknowledge all the stuff that Christianity has done throughout history that has actually benefited society, because those things cannot be ignored when you're having a discussion like this.
All right. I can't just give you the floor there, but I generally do agree that it's better to have a productive conversation and also make concessions where they seem necessary, because or also where they are necessary. As far as the conversation goes, you might not agree in the audience, and you might say, you know what, I draw my lines in a different place, and that's totally fine. But definitely smash the like button if you're hanging out right now and you appreciate what's going on. Right now, our poll of who's correct, we've got 22% for Craig, 16% for the voices in my head, and then 62% of the audience has voted for Jake on the who's correct poll. All right, so Craig, humbled.
Well, I only ever get the highest votes when it's a flat Earth debate. So yeah, it's only when I'm debating flat Earthers that I win these ones. It's fine. It's cool. I know.
There you go. All right, I'm just picking. We're going to start a new poll for you guys to engage with. But once again, while you're hanging out in the live chat, if you have the means to smash the like button, we really appreciate it. We're going to keep going on with your questions. And once again, thank you to both of our speakers, Jake and Craig, for having the discussion and also answering your questions. They're here at their own time, and we appreciate them. So you better appreciate them as well. Don't be too rude in the live chat. Just attack the arguments.
No, attack me. It's fine. I don't care. I'm a big boy. I'm not gonna cry.
You're crying 24/7. It's all you know how to do. Get out your tissue box. All right. No, I'm kidding. Some people really do need the modern day debate handkerchief, I swear. Moses. All right. We're gonna ask the question. Moses says, Doctors Without Borders, having worked there for 3 years, I would to point out that evangelicals and Catholics are the biggest funders after GOV. There's a couple typos here, so this is not maybe. Do you know what they're talking about?
I think they're saying that
he's saying that Christians are the biggest funders besides the government.
Yeah,
there is a. I'm not going to deny that is absolutely true. That I think four of the top 7 funders are large Christian organizations. That help fund Doctors Without Borders. The others are actually government agencies, but the organization itself is more of a secular kind of organization. But that's the thing about secular humanism and secularism in general, is that you can be whatever religion you want. It doesn't matter, Yeah, no, that's true, and not going to deny what they said.
Any thoughts over there? Or you want to just carry on with the next chat?
Let's carry on.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's carry on. Indeed. Thanks again for all your super chats. As I scroll up, pretending that I was ready when Jake said, let's carry on. All right. Oni-chan says, is a single cell a living thing? Brackets. Of course it is. Then why doesn't life begin at conception? It's undeniable fact, and I'm a lefty atheist. All right. So Craig,
is a single cell a living thing? Did he say?
Is a single cell a living thing? Of course it is. So they answered the question, but would you have anything to say?
A single cell
before
organism,
they load the question there.
A single-celled organism is a living thing, but like a single cell of me on its own isn't really a living thing. It's just a cell of one. I think he's trying to say that as soon as the baby's as soon as the sperm goes into the egg, and that cell separates into more cells. The egg itself is a cell. Not every cell is a living thing. The question's a bit weird.
All right. Let's see. I guess the main point is, then why doesn't life begin at conception? It's undeniable fact, and I'm a lefty atheist. So they're saying that they are pro-life and they're atheists. So what would you say to somebody who would be making an argument from that fact of a single cell is a living thing? So they're saying that life begins at that point.
Again, abortion is a topic of a lot of facets that no one is ever going to agree on every point about it. I don't think there is any specific point that we can say exactly that's where you are alive. For me, I would say it's when neurons start firing and a consciousness starts developing, and some awareness is there. And I don't think that happens as the sperm goes into the egg. But this is something that everyone's never going to agree on every point of this.
All right, let's carry on. Let's see. Funfair follows up and says, at some point, Craig will realize he is not good at debating and will stick to yelling at flat earthers before this gets any more embarrassing, right?
No, again, I don't. Even if I am not good at, I don't think I've done badly. In fact, Jake, I think this is the best debate I've had in this. I've enjoyed it a lot. Thank you. But even if I'm not great at it now, I don't stop doing something because I'm not great at it straight away. All right. I didn't get the world record on Sonic Racing Transformed track just by giving up straight away. I spent hours and hours racing that track to get the top racing time. I didn't just stop because I was beat by Knuckles in the first race. I'm a nerd.
Right. We're going to carry on, but no, I saw a debate performance similar to yours this morning, and then I wiped and flushed the toilet, and no, I'm kidding.
I know where you live, Ryan.
Yeah, sort of, right? You're supposed to come skiing sometime since
I have your address.
Oh, you do now, do you? Then send me some nice flowers. Why don't you? All right. Richie says, Eddie Lives Effect says, logically, you're, they say, okay, tell me you grew up in the 90s without telling me. All right. Richie says, Craig, you said people should not be forced into having a baby. At the same time, you say it should be a case by case basis. So there is some times where you would force a woman to have a baby.
Well, let's look at that logically, shall we? Let's say there is a woman that wanted an abortion, but then fell into a coma and then couldn't actually sign the papers or anything. And she's near the end of her pregnancy period. In that point, yeah, that woman's going to be forced to give birth because she can't actually say to make the abortion happen, and she's unconscious. The birthing process is still going to happen, and the doctors and nurses are going to have to make that happen. So I guess in that circumstance, you would have to be forced to have a baby. That's what I mean by case basis. You can't ever know the exact circumstances of everything that is going to happen. You can't know the medical needs of every case. By giving a universal decision on what should happen with abortion, you're ignoring the randomness of life and things that could be involved in the circumstances.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's quite the argument, really. The case by case basis. I find it actually very entertaining because I think it's essentially just a way to just obfuscate away from the fact that they wouldn't do anything about abortion. Because the Super Chatter's question was like a better example of it would be if somebody comes in at 8.5 months, a lady, and she says, nothing really wrong with me. Everything's healthy. I'm healthy. I'm financially all good. But I just decided, you know what, this little thing, I don't really like kids after all. I don't really want to get rid of it. Would the doctor then be able to say, no, ma'am, you can't do that. This baby is 8.5 months along. It's about to be born. You can't do that. And then if the doctor did say that, which would obviously be the ethical thing to do, then would the woman be forced to go through with that pregnancy? And with that, then would you be imposing your worldview on that woman? So that was I think that's a better example of it.
I mean, Jake, yeah, I think the doctor. A doctor has to agree to a procedure, right, at the end of the day. And whether that woman wanted the abortion or not, I don't think any doctor would do that procedure. So yeah, in that circumstance, she'd probably be forced to have that baby unless she took the matter into her own hands. But then, she's probably going to hurt herself as well. this is why case by case needs to be the thing, because obviously that's no one wants to abort an 8.5-month-old fetus unless there's some drastic situation where it's going to kill the mum and the baby might not survive. You don't know. But I personally, if I was the doctor, I wouldn't agree to that procedure. But it's...
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is just where secular humanists tend to look at the world through rose-colored glasses and say that, well, people wouldn't do that. But unfortunately, this sort of stuff happens all the time. People have late-term abortions all the time. It's allowed in places like California and New York to have these super late-term abortions. And
how late?
They do happen. And I think that they should be able to people should be able to stop that, and people, if they want to go ahead with it by themselves, they should be absolutely thrown in jail for that.
Honestly, it's something I am researching more. Do you know how late the late-term abortions are?
Well, in some cases, it can be as much as leaving the baby post-birth. So the baby will be born, and then there'll be some sort of deficiency or whatever, and then the doctor and the mother will get together. You can see the governor of I think New Jersey or something like, of Georgia or something like that, on camera actually talking about this. And Tim Walz, the almost vice president, signed a bill into law in where he's from in Minnesota, saying that was okay as well. So there is basically no
euthanize the baby. I mean, I wouldn't say
places.
that's an abortion. That's like after that's the baby's been born. It's abortions before, right? So are you saying they euthanize the baby after it was born?
They say this is what they say. They say we keep the baby comfortable, and we had that conversation with the mother and the doctor, and then they decide what to do with the baby.
All right, I'm going to ask the next question there, guys. Thank you so much for answering and unpacking there for a bit, but let's keep going. Mudgegum says, hi, Craig. Love you, buddy. Even if we're on opposite sides of this topic, I hope moving in is going well.
It's getting there.
It certainly looks like it. He's got that faux studio over there. It looks terrible, actually, if you see it in real life.
Screw you, man.
There. No, I'm kidding. It looks fine. It looks fine. I
just never want to paint again. I hate it.
The whining. No? All right, so let's see here. So, I hope moving in is going well. That's much come. They wish you well, even though I'm picking. All my best to the wife and kids.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Yeah, very much. You had your roof blow off, like you said. So hope you guys are doing well. Sorry if I'm always flying by the seat of my pants. Maybe I'm not as empathetic as I like to think I am. Anyway, would you agree secular humanism requires a force to be implemented?
Requires what, sorry?
Would you agree secular humanism requires force to be implemented?
Unfortunately, sometimes force is needed. You're not going to let others harm people. Everyone's entitled to their rights and their freedoms until they impose upon others, and sometimes force is needed to stop other people harming people. Would you use force to defend yourself? 100%. I was arrested for doing just that. It is an unfortunate fact of life that there is unsavory people that want to hurt other people. And is force needed to stop that? Is force needed to sometimes impose what you perceive as to be the ethical norms? Absolutely. It's an unfortunate fact of life. But that fact also exists within Christian societies. Force will absolutely be used to implement Christian values, and force will be used to stop those going against those values. It's an unfortunate fact of life that will exist in every society ever.
All right, hold on. I did want to carry on, but then you had to, implicate the Christian worldview, so I got to give Jake a chance to respond there, if you would like.
Yeah, no, Christians. I don't see a problem with force. But yeah, I would agree. I'm happy that Craig's bitten that bullet, that force is required. And yeah, force is required in Christian societies as well, just as much as every society.
All right. Cole Marshall says Christianity is the idea Christ is God, which he is. So he, God, already came down to tell us his laws, his new covenant. What are they trying to say here?
I get it, right? But God's changed his mind once, so it's within his nature to do it whenever God feels like it. God is the one that decides what happens. God could change his mind as he did before and now say, you know what, there's too much evil in the world again. Let's do another flood.
Let's make it nice quick here. I want to move on. Sorry, bud. Isa Kabir says, Steelman your opponent's position and debunk it. So go ahead there, Jake. Steelman secular humanism as quickly as you did earlier, and then just debunk it nice and quickly. And it'll be up to our audience to decide if you grasp everything that's going on with the conversation there.
Yeah, so
Same to you,
secular
Craig.
humanism is an ideology that is based upon not believing in any sort of transcendent or any sort of supernatural foundation. They believe that human thriving is what is most important, and that we don't need God for that. We can basically just take all of the Christian ethics and apply them without the foundation. And the problem with that is that it just becomes completely and utterly arbitrary, and people can interpret the secular humanist manifestos any way they want. They can look at the descriptors and they can basically put their own spin on it. And all the secular humanists can really say about it, well, that isn't my preference. That isn't my version of secular humanism.
All right. And over to you, Craig.
Okay.
So Steelman your opponent's position and then debunk it. So, as you just heard from Jake, there are many interpretations of what the secular humanism manifesto would regard. So with that, man, go ahead.
So Christian society would be based on the guiding principle, the golden rule of love thy neighbor and love for all and helping the poor and the values that the Bible teaches, that is absolutely great for society when it's done in a good way. Unfortunately, very much like Jake said, for secular humanists, the Bible and the laws can be interpreted many different ways and twisted for needs. As we looked in the fight to abolish slavery, there was Christians arguing for both sides. So the interpretation of the Bible can be twisted. The interpretation of the words of God and the values of Christianity can be twisted and interpreted in many different ways that can lead to bad things for society.
Yeah, I thought this was going to happen where you would both say it's up for interpretation, but we are going to carry on, and I think these guys are going to hopefully come back for more discussion to unpack some of these ideas, because I think we've just scratched the surface here, because obviously you guys don't just want to talk about, like I say, societal implications. You want to have that theological debate. So we'll talk about that going forward. Game Beat 2112 says Craig has come full circle. He is now the flat earther.
No, I use logic and reason and empathy and my brain. Definitely not the flat earther. Now, like I've said, I'm new at this. Jake's done more debates than me. Andrew's done more debates than me. I'm learning. The arguments are new to me. I'm doing more and more research. I prefer my position. I'm having to bite the bullet of many things that I've listened to other people say that I disagree with. But I'm getting there.
Let's give Jake a chance to respond and maybe give a little critique here about your debate performance, where he's a first-hand witness here, and I don't want to inject my own opinion. So go ahead there, Jake, if you want to give a little critique before we carry on.
Well, this is actually my second debate on secular humanism versus Christianity. I don't really do theological debates, but I think that you could definitely argue my point of view, even as an atheist, as to why Christianity is better for society, even if you didn't believe in God. But yeah, no, I'd say that the description of a moral flat earther that Andrew gave you is actually extremely accurate, because it's just basically an absurd worldview that actually isn't built upon any sort of logical foundation, and it's quite easily debunked, unfortunately for your side, just as I'm sure flat earth is extremely easy to debunk for you, Craig.
All right.
Appreciate
Josh
the critique.
Gardner says Josh Gardner says, did the Spartans practice eugenics? Are they secular humanists or something else?
They're pagans.
I don't know what the Spartans were. What were they, Greek?
Well, earlier I think Jake had said that you were vouching for a pagan worldview. So did you want to expound on like how Craig might be, enforcing that value, and then we'll carry on.
No, I
and
didn't.
let him
I
respond.
didn't necessarily say that.
Sorry,
Craig, but I said that
misunderstood.
modern. Well, the Spartans were pagans, but I just want to say that in terms of the secular sort of liberal atheists, what I see the progressive movement is basically it's a throwback to the sort of more hedonistic pagan culture pre-Christianity, and so that's where I see the inevitability of secular humanism going as well.
All right. Any thoughts over there, Craig? Do you think secular humanism is going there, or did you want to just carry on?
It just no, I don't. Going where? I don't really understand what the point was.
Yeah, so I mean, going back, it's like a throwback to the pagan societies evolved. For example, like the Romans and Greeks, and they had no sexual ethics, and they didn't really believe in the intrinsic value of human life, and they weren't able to protect that. And then Christianity came along and created a social and spiritual revolution.
Oh no, right, sorry, yeah, no, I don't
values.
agree that we're going back to pagan ethics. I think we've certainly evolved more in terms of empathy and compassion towards other humans. And I think that should be our guiding principle of everything is empathy towards others. And, I'm never going to deny that a lot of those principles come from things, well, are at least present within Christian values. There's nothing wrong with admitting that those values are shared between secular humanism and Christianity.
Any follow up over there, Jake?
No, Harry, I'm happy to move on.
All right. I'm just going to start up the poll there. So, yeah, did you smash the like button? You can say I touched it gentle. It's supposed to be gently, but I had a typo there. Or you can say smack it, bop it, twist it. It sounds so bad. All right. Thanks, everybody who contributed to the live chat. And I also have to say, this is one of those times that I actually have the microphone that I go out and play my live music with. I'm not using the 70-year-old microphone. It fell apart earlier, and I have to rewire it. So
you sound awful.
Hopefully the audio is.
I don't know.
Hopefully
what to say,
the audio
Ryan.
is actually better.
No,
but I usually do run.
You sound terrible. Unless is that how you normally sound? Oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh, it is. That is exactly how I sound. And you can sniffle my pickle. All right, let's carry on. I'm a Hunter says, regarding my first comment, Norway, according to Global Slavery Index 2023, an estimated 0.5 in every 1,000 people were in modern slavery in Norway at any point in 2021.
Define modern slavery.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Would either of you be, Jake, do you have anything to say on this super chat? We're in modern slavery in Norway. So what would be a definition for modern slavery, I guess, would be.
I don't know. I'd have to look into that. But the definition of slavery is one that's a little bit challenging because you could look at slavery as just people being forced to do work against their will, and you could see this in prisons. You could see this all around the developing world. You've got people who are in various different forms of what you could interpret as slavery. I've seen it with my own eyes in various different developing Southeast Asian countries, so it's a tough one.
Yeah, apparently modern slavery can refer to things like human trafficking, debt bondage, forced marriage, child labor, forced labor, even something like having an extremely underpaid job can be considered modern slavery. So, I mean, yeah.
I've heard that argument before where it's like if you're getting paid under minimum wage, then you're getting slave, wages. I don't know if that's a sentiment that's shared in the audience, but you guys can let us know if you think that, if you're being paid under minimum wage. I think right now it's like $17.50 here. I don't know what it is in America, but if you think you're getting under that.
Wait,
you think
you guys are getting paid?
Shush. No, we're not. No. I'm not going to ruin a good thing for whatever you guys got going on over there. Sorry to the... I'm not gonna say anything. Let's carry on with the super chats before I get myself in trouble here. Get Craig in trouble. He'll be deported. Razor Robertson says, Jake looks like an AI-generated James. I think he's saying
Oh my
that
God.
you're handsome and you're built. And you wear glasses really well.
Right, Ryan,
Both
why did you not
fantastic
tell
compliments.
me? Why did you not tell me about James, by the way? I had a shock when I saw him because his biceps are the size of my neck.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying the only thing, like if you see us together, like I'm very tall next to James, but like he's so built. Like yeah, when we were at the debate con and he stood up and he was like, I will start throwing people out personally. I was like, James is on
Yeah, you don't want
security.
James to do
This is
that.
See, look, this is what I look like when I wear glasses. And then when I play live shows, they just keep sliding down my eyes. And like, I'll see videos of people that will have like, you know, me screaming rock songs, but my glasses will be here. And I'll be like, that's so lame. Oh my God, just get rid of them, right? Anyway, but yeah, you wear it well there, Jake. You know, yeah, you're not.
Just wanted to quickly say
James.
to the people, who, I couldn't connect to my my stream, but to the people who are watching my stream still, after this, I'm going to jump on and chat with you guys and read all the super chats and everything.
All right. Well, yeah, if you're hanging over on Jake's channel, we welcome you here at Modern Day Debate. Jake is still here live with us, and thank you so much, Jake, for being here as well. It's been a real pleasure getting to host you here, and let's carry on with the super chats. King Ginger 333, the Soulless. That's not actually their name. I just added that on. Craig, God doesn't use human logic. Therefore, he wouldn't break his promise by changing his mind. The new covenant is the standard that God uses.
Now, but again, he changed his mind before, and you're just assuming what God's logic here is. You know, the fact is, God changed his mind once. He can do it again. He might have said that's his covenant, but if God wants to, he can change his mind. It's just an assumption to say that you know for a fact he never would because he told you he wouldn't.
All right, any thoughts on the other side?
No, I think we've beaten that horse.
All right, excellent.
Don't we mean to horses?
And no, we won't go down that path. Awesome. Oni-chan says, we get it, Ryan. You play music. Hey, Oni-chan, guess what? I don't know if you know this. I play music.
No.
Sorry,
Guys, he plays music. Okay.
Oh yeah, thanks for that, Craig. I gotta have fun with that. No, I do appreciate this mic a lot more. It's way less dark and grimy sounding than this old thing. I just like this thing because it just looks cool, honestly. Casual Crypt says, Craig, since you're such a scientific guy, can you walk us through the scientific method?
Sure. So the basic scientific method that you would learn in high school consists of 5 parts. You would make an observation or ask a question about something, and then you would form a hypothesis about why that thing is happening. Using that hypothesis, you would make a prediction. And then from that prediction, you would design an experiment to test that prediction. Once you have performed your experiment, you analyze the data gathered from your experiment to see if you've disproven your hypothesis. And if not, you can go back to step 2 and form a new hypothesis that is slightly adjusted and start the process over again.
All right. Any thoughts on
God,
the
I
other
felt like
side
doing my
there,
tutoring
Jake?
job.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that the what's the scientific method question is really good, and it has stumped people in the past, but I didn't use it today because I suspected Craig would have a pretty good understanding of it.
Do
All right,
people
well, let's
not
just carry
know
on then.
what it is that you speak to, Jake? Like on this.
Very rarely, yeah.
All right.
Oh.
I'm going to ask the next question here. Muchgum says, Craig, would you agree? I do apologize, Jake. A lot of these questions are for Craig.
Yeah, they're
as you
always
saw
for
in
the
poll
person on the
earlier.
other side. It's fine. Usually when I'm debating flat earthers, all the
there's no
questions
such
are for
thing
the
as the other
Flerfs.
side. It's just it's a matter of 62% of the audience did say that they were here and they agree with Jake. So it's expected that a lot of them are going to try to unpack and grill you.
It's like when 80% of the
know.
audience were there for Andrew at DebateCon. Yes, I understand.
All right. Well, Mudgum says, Craig, would you agree that Marxism is a secular humanist ideology? If so, how is your point about the USSR not a no true Scotsman? Don't interrupt, Jake. We're going to let Jake interrupt at the end. Much gum. Don't tell us how we're going to do shit. All right,
Yeah, shut up, Jake.
There, Craig.
Again, it's a secular. It's not secular humanist. To be secular humanist, you would have to adhere to the the principles within the Humanist Manifesto, and Marxism certainly doesn't do that. I do think there needs to be a strong, people need to understand the definition and the difference between a secular society, i.e. a society not based on religion's doctrine in any way, and being a secular humanist. They're not the same thing. So it doesn't become a no true Scotsman.
Go ahead there, Jake. I was going to let you interrupt, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think that secular humanism, just by the name alone and the intellectual tradition, would be an outgrowth of secularism, and secularism would be the umbrella that it falls under. But just sorry to be abrasive, Ryan, but I do need to get back to my stream soon. So if we could smash through these questions, would be good.
Oh, sure. Let's rock right through them. So no worries there, guys. Thank you so much. And everybody that has boosted up and hit that like button. I did see a huge increase. Let's just get into those questions. I'm going to set a 30-second timer, and we're just going to keep it at the side that the question's for. Even if you're just there, oh, I really want to get on this, I'm gonna stop you. Don't mind me, all right? Because I do agree. We've gone almost 2 hours and 20 minutes here on my streaming side. So Richie for $5 says, Craig, would you make it illegal for pregnant women to use meth?
Would I make it illegal for pregnant women to use meth? If I was personally in charge, probably, because that's not a good thing. That's how flat earthers happen.
I don't even think they're supposed to drink coffee or so. It's like there's so many things.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Jake,
I was going to say changing cat
would you make it
a couple
illegal?
other things, right?
I mean, I'm assuming you would make that illegal, right, Jake?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Carry on. Thanks so much for the super chats. Turpentine cat. Fun fact about turpentine and cats. You do your own nasty Google searches, all right? Craig, how many needles have you had to dispose of? How many asses have you wiped? How much puke have you had to clean up? How many bodies have you bagged? Secular humanism is evolutionary dead end. Okay, it started out strange and it got weirder.
Right,
I don't even know.
Okay, I've thrown away quite a lot of needles because I've lived in a bad area when I was a child and would throw them away when I found them. What was the second one?
How many asses have you wiped? I mean, I don't know.
I used to help out a nursing home, so a few, and I've had 2 children. So how many bodies have I bagged? I'd tell you, but then I'd have to also kill you. And what was the final bit?
Secular humanism is evolutionary dead end.
Please go and understand what evolution is.
What is with the how much puke have you had to clean up? I don't get
puke.
this.
Again, I've 2 children, and I've been on road trips.
I was going to say, I had to clean up puke this morning because we got a new puppy. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't get what this is all about. I'm going to go grab that dog. I'm going to grab that dog for likes. All right? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cheat tonight. But after I ask the question from Emperor Fat Ass Dogs. Great YouTube name. Let's ask question for both panelists, including the hosts. Oh my goodness. What do you prefer? Black bears or polar bears? All right, I'm not going to grab the pup for that one. Let's just ask it. Do you like black bears or polar bears? Like, this is silly.
Jake?
I've never seen a polar bear, so I'm going to say a polar bear. That would be kind of cool to see.
They're very vicious from what I've heard.
I think I prefer a black bear because I've more of a chance of fighting off. Polar bears are literal monsters. I've not seen one personally, but they stand like 14 foot tall when they go up or something. I don't think I'd ever want to meet a polar bear. Plus, they contain one of the only meats that's poisonous to human. If you eat its liver, you die.
I was going to say, I remember being a kid and darting through the trees, and in hindsight, probably wasn't a good idea. Luckily, the bear did not chase us. So, Just scary times, right? You're growing up in the woods. But yeah, black bears. Apparently, an 8-year-old, maybe I was 9, could outrun them. So I'd take the black bears because I survived one, and that's great as far as I was concerned. But it was probably just like, what's going on? I'm gonna keep eating now. That thing just left, right? Like, and we were probably there, like, oh, it's chasing us. That's how kids are. All right. So Andy says, Craig, you say reason the foundation of secular humanist ethics, changing is progress for humans, but flaw in God. Isn't that a double standard?
How is that a double standard? Read the question again.
All right, just 1 second here. I was just checking in on our live chat. 1 second, I just got to scroll back up. So Andy says, Craig, you say reason, the foundation of secular humanist ethics, changing is progress for humans, but flaw in God. So change in God is a flaw. So if God changes his mind, it's not good. But if there's change in secular humanism, you would argue that it is good. Is that not a double standard?
Well, no. Okay, my point was that God has been genocidal in the past, and by his own logic could decide to do it again. Whereas secular humanism would change to help advance humanity and increase flourishing and reduce harm. We would look at how things are working and go, how can we make this better? That's very different to deciding to wipe out an entire city and children, including children and other infants, because you thought they were having sex that you weren't very happy with.
Okay. Any thoughts there, Jake, before we carry on?
Nope, carry on.
All right. I told you I was getting the dog for likes. See, I was
My
cheating.
dog could swallow your dog whole.
I know. Look how little she is. She's so silly and fluffy. You want to show everybody how fluffy you are? Yeah. There you go. That's my cheating for likes. She's just a baby, so she's just here having fun with me, staying up late. Anyway, yeah, this is Maple because I'm a ridiculous Canadian, and that's what my dog is now named. So Oni-chan asks another question, says, did bro just say cells aren't living things? I'm pretty sure Craig did say that a cell is a living thing. I think you were clarifying that it's not conscious, but maybe they're talking about something
Yeah, it's not like a
said.
living
I'm not sure.
being, but a cell on its own isn't like alive in the sense of an organism. Like, it is a virus alive. A virus is a cell that also has the ability to reproduce, but is it actually a living thing? Is it alive? That's something that's actually up for debate. A single cell, like a cell of me, isn't a living thing. It's part of a living thing. Like a single-celled organism that's a life form is a living thing. There's a bit of a distinction there.
Yeah, I'd probably pretty much agree. It definitely opens up a can of worms if you say that any single cell is living and therefore deserves like dignity, because then we shouldn't obviously bite our fingernails or anything like that. So,
yeah.
All right. We only got a couple more super chats to go, so a big thank you to both of our speakers once again. This is big appreciation. And Jake, yeah, we're just rolling through. So last two questions. Even Lord says, a more authoritarian government can help its citizens more than a small government. Why, Craig, do you believe authoritarianism is immoral and unneeded, given their criteria?
Oh, it's about autonomy of humans, and whether that is the best thing for society. Now, every government is authoritarian to a degree. It's how much they will impose their laws by force. It just depends on the society.
Yeah, I'd say I agree. There needs to be a balance.
All right. Well, once again, another moment where we need that button of huzzah. Even Lord follows up and says, logically blind empathy is self-destructive, and a blind logic leads to bigotry. For both debaters, and is multiculturalism multiculturalism and secularism sustainable and good?
No, no, it's not. Multiculturalism without some sort of a guiding principle and structure and a foundational belief or something that pretty much everybody can get behind won't work. And we're seeing a lot of the fruits of that at the moment in the Western world. And I don't think that secularism is sustainable. I think that people will always end up gravitating back towards the more, looking at the transcendental.
I'm a nerd, and I'd like to think Star Trek can happen, where the guiding foundations of humanity is just advancing humanity, making humanity better. I would love
just
for
show
a
the
world like that
tattoo.
to
Just
exist.
show the tattoo and be done with it.
It's not finished yet. It gets finished on Friday.
I knew
Gonna
that was
have
what this was going
a
to
massive Earth here. This is getting gold, lights on the Enterprise, nebula and stars and stuff. Yeah. See,
let's ask the next super chat, there, Craig. You know that's where everything was going. Come on. Unfair Funfair says, does Mr. Don't Interrupt Me, aka Craig, even realize that he's constantly interrupting, or is this just projection due to a painful leg? Actually, Unfair Funfair, I think we just kind of had a little fun with that and moved on. That's not really a part of tonight's debate. We're not having a flat Earth debate.
There was interruption on both sides, and it was just a passionate debate, which I appreciate from Jake.
Glorious.
Thank you.
Now I'm interrupting you because let's move on.
Shut up,
Emperor
Ryan.
Fat Ass Dog says, "Yeah, all right, Craig, are you smarter than a panda bear? I don't know. Can you catch a fish with your bare paw?"
Well, let's think about it. A panda bear gets to sit around all day getting high by eating leaves of some kind, whereas I have to work for a living and provide for my family. I think they're smarter.
All right. Well, I won't say anything. I'm not going to say if that's true or not. Yeah, it could be. Andy says, Craig. I'm so sorry once again, Jake. A lot of these are for Craig, so I'm going to let you respond to what Craig says, and we'll bounce it back and forth, and then let's do our final closings. No more super chats after Andy. So if you're listening right now and you put in a super chat, we're not going to take it. I'm so sorry. Craig, you say God wiped out a city for having sex he wasn't happy with. Besides that being wrong, humans kill for less, yet secular ethics gets a pass.
Clearly, that was hyperbole. I was, being dramatic for effect. We all know what I'm talking about. It was one of the things that he was unhappy with in the city, what do you mean by secular ethics gets a pass? No, secular ethics doesn't get a pass. We don't agree with harming people for no reason. So the claim of secular ethics getting a pass just is a silly one, because secular ethics is about not giving a pass when you're, causing harm to people.
All right. Any response there, Jake, to his framing of what secularism would entail?
Well, I think this whole debate has sort of been about that and been about the very fragile foundation of secular ethics, because if it's built on sand, then it will get washed away. But Christianity's ethics are built on rock. So happy to get into the closings.
Excellent. I agree. Let's get into the closings, and I'm going to give you the last word there, Jake. So we'll let Craig go first. But once again, thank you so much to all of our audience for your super chats. We really appreciate it. Once again, Modern Day Debate is on Instagram now, so check us out over there. Follow us, and we would appreciate that. We're going to be uploading more stuff there going forward. Maybe even some after show stuff, when things get heated. I know, Craig, we've had a few times that we get in the after show and we come back because you just can't help yourselves, right? But we're going to get out of here tonight because Jake does have other places to be. So I'm going to ask Craig to behave himself. Thanks again, everybody who, like I say, put in a super chat and hit the like button. Craig, we're going to give you a minute on the floor. Your thoughts on the discussion tonight, where everybody can find you.
All right, well, first I want to say thank you very much, Jake. I very enjoyed the chat. You can find me over on the channel Craig McNeill, FTFE, or on Twitter, FTFE Official. I upload and do videos regularly. The main point that I've made in this debate is that you don't need to base the foundations of a society on a religious doctrine. I'm never going to deny the positive things that Christianity has brought to the world through its want to do better. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad people within Christianity, but like any walks of life, there's bad people within it. But I think it's very intellectually dishonest when people on my side just be like, "Oh, Christianity totally bad, no good." We have to acknowledge the good that Christianity has done, but we don't have to rely on ancient religious doctrine, and we have to understand that humanity and society evolves, and that's why secular humanism is better, because it's about advancing humanity. It evolves with humanity, and it allows for society to evolve and flourish as society itself evolves. Christianity is too rigid to guide humanity into the future. Thank you, Christianity. You've done good for a lot of it, but we'll take it from here. You can sit in the back now and just chill.
All right. Well, your time is up there, so thank you so much, Craig, for coming out. Lively discussion as always. Appreciate you there, brother. So, if you have the means to check out either of our speakers tonight, we're gonna try to have them both linked in the description. I'm gonna double check on that in just 1 second. But yes, thank you, Daniel or Danielle J. Not sure how you pronounce that there in the chat, but for your support and your kind words, appreciate you. It's been a while since I've been on Modern Day Debate. Just been busy with the kids and the dog and other things, so it's nice to be back. But without further ado, Jake, thank you so much for coming out. It's been a pleasure to moderate the discussion. 1 minute on the floor. Thanks for being here, brother.
All right, thank you for having me. Yeah, Jake, Rattlesnake TV. Thank you as well to Craig for coming and doing this debate. I think that we've discovered throughout the course of this debate that secular humanism falls apart pretty much at every single turn, and Craig is well within his rights to claim that Christianity can step aside, but that's not what's happening. There's going to be a religious revolution in the Western world, and a renaissance, you might say, and this is happening all around the Western world. People are understanding that secular humanism and secularism in general, which are inextricably linked, do not provide a basis for human value. We saw at the start that Craig said that he doesn't know whether or not human beings even have free will. How can you possibly guide a society and justify things like human flourishing and justify things like human value and dignity and why we should look out for the oppressed and the poor if we can't even establish that human beings have free will? So Christianity provides a basis for all of these things. Christianity provides an unchanging foundational ethic that we can all live by. And it's a much, much stronger worldview than what Craig has said, and he hasn't been able to answer for any of the claims or the hypotheticals that we've put forward about what if people interpret the secular humanist manifesto in a certain way, which we are seeing throughout the entire world. Secularists interpret secularism in many different types of ways, and he basically just says, well, we have to look at it from a case-by-case basis, and that is just completely untenable. So appreciate the debate, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jake and Craig. Once again, you can check them out in the description in the live chat. Are you guys going to be hanging out in any spaces after the debate? Do you want to let our audience know? Craig, are you going to be live?
No, tonight. I'm going to answer my super chats and stuff in my stream for probably 20 minutes, and then I'm going to go to bed because it's very late here. Are you in Australia,
Jake?
I'm in Bali at the moment, but yeah, I'm going to be over on Rattlesnake TV. If you guys want to come and join me, I'll be hanging out there for a bit.
All right, I've done everything I can do to help you guys out, so thanks again for coming out, and we will see you next time. Once again, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate everybody who's come out to support us at Modern Day Debate. Once again, I'm your host, Ryan. This is Craig and Jake on a debate on secular humanism versus Christianity, which is better for society. So hopefully we'll see them again for more unpacking on maybe a theological subject next time, not just regarding society. We'll see how it goes. So thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Oh, he left quick.
Boom. Shabam.
All right, I'll speak to you later, Ryan. That was fun.
You will? Why? Can't we just answer the questions to your audience together?
Oh yeah, that's fine. It's here. If you guys have got any questions for Ryan, let me know. Yonderstone $5 says it was my super chat asking you if Jake could steel man what secular human is. And I predict he could not. Thank you for your 10th super chat. No, I don't. Actually, he did a pretty good job of steel manning what secular humanism is. Apart from when he started talking. Cole Marshall for $5 says, love your new opening, buddy. Very big change from New Jersey. Much love. Thank you very much, Cole. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm learning how to do these debates as we go along. Ryan, you said it a C? I'd say a B minus, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, honestly, the way the argument unfolded, it wasn't. You did it a lot better. You did a lot better. That's for sure. The first time we had a discussion on, I think it was when you announced to me that you were like, "Oh, I'm coming out to New Jersey and I'm going to debate Andrew Wilson." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
Oh shit. What are you doing?
What's going on? What are you going to debate, right? Like, what is? Like, well, I thought at first I was like, is he a flat earther now? What happened?" Right? And you were like, no, I'm going to debate secularism. And I was like, oh no, this is not going to go good. And then,
I don't think it went bad, but I don't think I've done terrible in these debates.
You got pretty hammered on like the culture wars, I thought, by Jim Bob. Honestly, I think I let you know that. I was like, hey,
yeah.
When somebody asks about bathrooms, my default is if somebody is pooping in the toilet, that's a win. Most people who have been on like store standards for Walmart know that like they've had to clean some pretty sketchy stuff. I've even had some things like backfire and like shoot out at the wall. So like it can get pretty bad. So if people are just going in the toilet and being normal about it, that's great. But like anyway, I think that was a bit of a swing and a miss just because
I'm looking more into
cares.
I'm looking more into the trans issue and stuff, and some of my views have changed a bit recently on some of the things, but it's a very nuanced topic. No, Jim Bob didn't get me actually. It's just speaking to actual trans people.
That one. And I was like, "Oh, you missed it. You missed that up." Anyway, I got to pick. All right, your audience is going to be like, "Ryan."
C-Roy says for €6. Ryan, why did you let Jake dodge the hypothetical? Ooh.
Which hypothetical?
About God.
How many hypotheticals did you make in the debate about God? Which one? All right, help me out here, Craig. I'm looking at the live chat. I'm reading stuff.
No. It's just that this happens in each one of these debates. Is they will throw out a bunch of hypotheticals. Oh well, what if this? Even though that never happens. And as soon as I give the hypothetical of, well, God's done this before. What if he does it again? They go, well, God wouldn't do that. It's a big double standard that I like showing everybody. The Christians don't get it. But
they're saying that sometimes my brain, like with the way I try to progress the conversation, I guess it's just because I wouldn't even give that as a starter. Like Craig allows that. He's like, what if God does? And I'm like, no, I'm not even gonna go that far.
Well, I think it's an important part of it. I think they don't like having that discussion because it does destroy their foundation when you look at the things that God has done. Yeah, if you look at just the new covenant and everything, brilliant, God's being nice, but he could change his mind and be a shitty God again,
I sure could. I sure could change my mind, but I won't.
You're Canadian,
sorry,
you can't be God.
I don't want to give it away. I'm not going to give it away.
Look,
oh my
quiet down there in the 51st state.
Yeah, no, sorry. I am infallible.
Lord Lunas Pooh $5 says, I found out sharks are older than Polaris. Not Polaris being the North Star. No, longer than it's existed. They've circled the galaxy twice. What are you fucking talking about, Pooh? Did you get into the medicine cabinet again?
Hold on. How? Oh, I gotta look this up now. Wait, so they're asking what?
They say that sharks are older than Polaris.
Do they mean like
how long sharks have existed?
How?
Isn't the rotation of the galaxy like 250 million years or something?
Are they saying that maybe like Polaris was not a visible
No,
entity when sharks were populating the planet? Like that's
Or-
what I'm looking up right now. Is it's like was that something that was perceptible, or are they just saying that like, oh, the
The star
concept
didn't
of Polaris,
exist.
as far as like humans haven't defined it, like probably didn't happen until English because it's an English word. Anyway, sorry.
I'm going to have to research that. They might be right. I don't know. Jackalope Herdmaster, $5 says, looking good, Craig. Too bad the massive loss of mass will most likely be too much for the globe to handle and result in the next mass extinction event. Right. Did you know that losing weight is annoying because you have to buy an entirely new wardrobe? No, you're skinny. You wouldn't know that. Look at you. You've not got an ounce of fat on your stupid Canadian body.
I've never ever gained weight. I don't know what it is.
Fuck you.
Like it's just one of those things. It's Nova Scotian problem, I guess. Anyway, let's see here. People in my life. What was he going on about? What happens in Vegas? Ryan's guilty pleasure is that he likes to catch up on steaks. Somebody in my live chat. I'm not even gonna respond because I'm not even live on my side right now. So let's just carry on with your audience, and if they want to grill me, and then maybe Craig, send me all your money later.
Yeah, sure. No worries.
Such a gent.
Just ask them. I think if you just send an invoice to who's running it now, I think it's Lucy over at NASA Payroll. Should just take a bit out of my check and divert it to you. It should be fine. Lord Luminous Poo, $5. Someone asked if you would like to have legs as long as my fingers. Are fingers as long as my legs? I thought finger legs would make my member look. Someone asked if I would like to have legs as long as my fingers or fingers as long as my legs.
My fingers are long enough to get the job done, so I mean.
Legs as long as my fingers or fingers as long as my...
I don't know what legs have ever done besides get me around. Yeah.
God.
If I had little funny legs, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'd be on some sort of like talent show. I play guitar. I'd be like that many-legged guy.
No, yeah, I think I'd rather have fingers as long as my legs than... I'm not sure, actually.
Fingers as long as your legs.
What would you rather fight, Ryan? Would you rather fight 100 horse-sized chicken or... 100 chicken-sized horses or one horse-sized chicken?
Oh, yeah. That's hard to say. I mean, I guess, if you got 4 legs, the leg sweep's pretty good. But, I mean, judging by some of those videos, I don't know. Chicken? No. The horses, for sure. The little mini horses. I take the little mini horses.
Start kicking.
Just start kicking and ranching off. That's right. Get my spurs up.
Your gravestone says, killed by 100 chicken-sized horses.
Hey, it's honestly, it's better than getting my eyes pecked out by a giant fucking chicken.
Chickens are terrifying.
If this was like, well, not only that, but like, did they say if it's a Clydesdale? Because if it's a Clydesdale, we're done. We're all dead.
Lord Lucas,
this is like a Canadian goose. Everyone's gonna die.
$2. Whoa, he's hanging halfway down his legs. Yeah, I think you'd rather have the fingers on your legs, wouldn't you? Aaron for $2.99 says Luke 12:47 promotes slaves obeying masters. Yeah, that's like I was saying that Christianity was arguing for both sides of the slave debate.
What passage? Sorry.
Luke 12:47.
Yeah, and Ephesians also reinforces that by saying that for great their reward will be. And then when you have people that try to separate themselves from those passages, it's like, okay, well, why do we need a correction to any of this substance in the first place? Because a lot of times there's an attempt to separate New Testament from Old Testament, but unfortunately the New Testament only exists because, it's a sequel.
Yeah.
It's built on the foundations of... So when people try to say, oh, well, that doesn't really matter anymore, it's like, okay, well, then what sins did he have to come and forgive? Right?
Yeah.
This is where you've messed up, Craig, because I won't pick on you.
I keep going. This is good.
I don't blame you for not being interested in the Bible. It's a guilty pleasure.
It's the reason I'm not a Christian is because I read the Bible and because I was kicked out of Sunday school for asking too many questions.
You poor shit.
So, but how did God do that?
You must have been so sad.
Yeah, but how? Like, physically how? Yeah, but how? What do you mean I've got to go? Oh.
Shot it right out of his... Anyways, go ahead. Read the next
C-Roy, €11. One of the founding principles of secular humanism is the right to bodily autonomy. putting brains in vats or forcibly reducing the population goes against this principle. Yeah, that in fact, that should have been my argument against Andrew Wilson in our debate, because the premise that he gave went against the 10th principle of secular humanism is about autonomy. So, I could have debunked his prescription using secular humanism, but I was panicking because there was like, a few hundred of his people and, like 20 of mine.
Oh yeah, I mean, and then I'm over here on my American tour, right? Like, I'm so sorry. I did want to hang out with you. It's just, and then yeah, that had made me sad. Like, I was hosting some debates like leading up to the debate con, and it was like, excuse me, the beer. I had hosted Andrew Wilson, and he was debating against Bo Diddley. I don't know if you watched that. It was very interesting, to say the least. Anyways, he tried to turn this argument that was supposed to be about like whether porn was good for society. I'm just gonna say it. Whether that's good for society or like he tried to turn it into like whether necrophilia was okay. And it's like all of us have probably agreed that necrophilia is not okay, and like people that haven't, that's why we're like gross, disease and like just trauma for other family members and just like general like anyway, the fact that that was an argument was already problematic. But I just remember like I was texting halfway through. I think I was texting you halfway through, and I was like, this guy just said that women that breastfeed in public is porn. So I was like, this guy sees a baby. I'm not saying anything else, all right?
Yeah, I mean, I understand boobs are cool, and I do get excited when I see a pair of boobs, but breastfeeding's not porn.
Well, and you know what? Here's the thing: is that would you rather advocate for a society like Craig, who sees boobs and can't disassociate his sexuality from the boobs because he grew up in a bad time? Sorry, Craig. And I like boobs too. But I'd rather empower my son. I'd rather empower my kids to be better than that, because I see it as a problem. I see it as a problem in myself. Craig probably recognizes it as a problem as well. Where it's like,
boobs are awesome, man.
That's great, but it's like, for the guys that are like, I saw something and I can't handle it. That's not us, obviously. We've maybe gotten beyond that point, but we know some people that are arguing that, oh, well, apparently doing that is porn, and they're sexually uncomfortable by it.
The thing is, right?
It's one thing to like. I was gonna say, and that's where I think like we're in that in between, where it's like it's one thing to like it, as far as like liking boobs, but as for like, a woman breastfeeding, like, get the hell out of here. Like, leave the woman the fuck alone. Do not associate any type of sexuality with this. Like,
I mean, that's the thing. I love boobs. Boobs are awesome, but I can separate the two. There's nothing sexual about breastfeeding. I'm never gonna not be excited by a pair of boobs, but I understand and can totally separate the two. And the problem is that they don't seem to be able to. And that's kind of a them problem.
He advertised that there was no separation, and I was like, how is it that people don't see that this is like a deep, problem with the way that like you're sexually outletting yourself? Like, you're the one that's being uncomfortable right now, and it was really uncomfortable for me too, because I was like, holy light! I think I just had this conversation a week ago. So I mean, like I said, if it was the case that like you could raise the next generation to not be the way that you are and the way that I am and the way that we see these inanimate blobs of fat as some sort of sexual object, I get it that some people are attracted to feet, but if it was the fact that we could separate it to the point that it was like, okay, you can wear sandals and maybe you don't have to wear a bra in Western culture, like you don't have to wear in the EU, because people aren't so charged and problematic. Like, I think that would be pretty alleviating, since me and you have that liberty, and you're, you live over in, I was gonna say, where are you living now? You moved.
I'm still in Scotland, but just the other side of Fife. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, I got to check, but either way, so what's the deal over in Scotland? Is that something that's like permissible? Because in Western culture, women just can't do that. So I don't even see why it's problematic for people to be arguing about. But like,
What, not wearing a bra?
It's one of those. Well, it's one of those sexist issues that just like
Women can wear whatever
one
they
of those
want.
things that I'm like,
You know, it's no one else's business is what a woman wears, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah. Well, it's just anyway. I don't want to make it weird. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Don't make it weird, Ryan.
I'm not gonna make it weird. I just like I said, it just bothers me that it's like, holy lightning, can babies not freaking eat because men are that uncomfortable?
I know.
Anyway, what's the next question? Go
Ricardo Ray for 75 UYU. I do not know what currency that is. Thank you. That's your 10th super chat. If men were the ones getting pregnant, abortion would be legal. Yeah. If men were the one getting pregnant, then humanity would be dead long ago. Also, pro-life until the baby is born. After that, they don't care anymore, which is kind of my point, right? Abortion, bad, illegal, never happen. So all the children that are born into poverty are just going to stay there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, don't feed your baby with those food stamps. No formula for you, you fucking freeloader, right?
Aaron299 says, I'll give
queen.
more for a full FTFE dumpster fire. I've promised James that I'm going to be nice on modern day debates.
What'd you promise me, bitch? Did you promise me anything? I don't know. I'm just...
I promised I wouldn't. I promised I wouldn't burn your house down.
I'm not here. I didn't hear that. Craig, you indict yourself. All right, ask the next one before I...
Rachbot gives me a $10 super sticker. Thank you very much, Rachbot. I appreciate it. And she's been a member for 63 months and says, every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is good. Every sperm is needed in your neighborhood. Yeah? You not a Monty Python fan?
Oh, now that you mentioned that, yes. I was going to start a debate show called The Biggest Discus, right? If you remember that.
Yes.
But I've come to discover, and I've already coined it, so it sucks to be you, anybody out there, that debate show. So I've come to realize that my favorite guitar pedal show was called That Pedal Show, and there was no show called That Debate Show. So it's mine, fuck you, it's already done. Yeah,
I'll just set up a new channel.
Email. Yeah, no, eat my dick. Anyway, no, but honestly, what were you saying before? Yeah, no, every sperm's sacred. Here's the thing: I had 2 kids, and that was it. And I was like, I said to my wife, like, I'm not gonna risk it again for the biscuit.
Yeah.
And now I'm a walking human condom. I do what I want.
Yeah, same here.
You know, yeah.
I was like, 2's enough.
Honestly,
cut.
Well, here's the thing. Also, is like I said earlier in the debate, is that I already know people younger. Like 7, 8 years ago that already died. You know what I mean? That are much younger than I am. Don't have kids. Won't have that opportunity. And it's kind of like, I don't want to populate my life. Yeah, I guess that's just it. Is that I don't want to get back into that whole fentanyl discussion. But it's like, there's enough humans. You know, there's like, let me just get to the end of it. I'm not gonna. I could take probably another 20 minutes to just.
Yeah,
explain.
humans are mostly dicks. Why do we want more of them, man?
Yeah, there's enough of us.
All right, C. Roy has another question for you, Ryan, for €6. Follow up. Why did you allow Jake's dumb hypothetical if you're against hypotheticals?
My hypothetical. Did he say?
He said, why did you allow Jake's dumb hypothetical if you're against hypotheticals?
What was his hypothetical? You guys both made hypotheticals.
Well, his hypothetical was, what if a bunch of secular humanists got together and said it was okay to do this horrific thing?
Why did I allow that? I mean, I don't know. Is in the sense of like maybe if it's the case that the thing that he's describing is not actually valid underneath that secular humanist ideal, then it's very easy to say like, okay, you know, that idea would be causing undue harm to a group of people, and that would be very easy for somebody to just move on from the discussion. The things that I usually don't want to get into, especially when we're in Q&A, is things that launch us into discussions that aren't surrounding the subject that we're talking about, or aren't easy to just move on from based on the prior discussion and the way that we've already engaged with the subject before. So Craig had already discussed with Jake and interacted in a similar way, so it was very easy to just say, okay, we can just move on from here. I don't see why allowing him a second to say, okay, here's my hypothetical, and for Craig to just be like, no, it wouldn't be allowed under that secularist ideology, and it's an invalid question. You know, you're loading it in a way that we wouldn't identify with if we were going to call ourselves secularists. I don't see why that would be invalid. Maybe I stopped Craig at some point. Craig, did I stop you at some point when you were making?
Yeah, a little bit during me trying to point that out, but it's cool. It's cool. I'll spank you later.
I'm sorry. Maybe my brain was already just like, it's just been done.
So right, is that I don't know. Is that your hair or the tribble on your head or something? I'm not sure.
It's big, thick hair. I got to get rid of it. I've just been growing it out. I've been neglecting to get it cut for about 4 or 5 months now.
I get mine cut next week about a few days before I go to Amsterdam with my wife. Ooh, cannot wait. We're going
what are you going to Amsterdam for besides to smoke a bunch of weed?
It's our anniversary, our 18th wedding anniversary. So we're going to Amsterdam on the 5th of April. But we're the night before, because our plane leaves at 7 in the morning. So we've got a hotel at the airport the night before. Then we've got 2 hours in the premium lounge, and then we've got the best seats on the plane. And then we get into a 5-star hotel in Amsterdam. And I've also booked us on our anniversary on the 7th. I booked us into Yamazoto restaurant, which is the only Michelin star Japanese restaurant outside of Japan.
Oh man,
yeah,
you guys love that that Michelin rating, eh?
Yeah, and we booked into a coffee shop to have a coffee shop experience where a dude would sit down with us with all the different bongs and vaporizers and different types of weed and take us through what they are and let us try them all and stuff. And
now, I was going to say, a buddy of mine used to work for Michelin long term. Have you ever heard about the Michelin conspiracy about them recommending restaurants that would specifically make people drive long distances? Yeah, I was going to say, you're nodding your head, really.
Yeah.
He'd mentioned
I went into a Michelin fucking rabbit hole because one day it just clicked. Wait, Michelin? Like the tires? I never realized. Right? And then once I figured out that, it became Michelin starred because the Michelin had the travel book that you got when you had your tires changed, and they would recommend restaurants. So restaurants would work really hard to be a Michelin recommended restaurant, and that's where the Michelin star came from. I was like, it blew my mind, but then there was conspiracies about it. Like restaurants were paying more to be put in certain places. People would drive more for them, and it was to get more tire sales. And I'm like, what is going on?
Well, yeah, that was just it, is that Michelin, the conspiracy was that Michelin was trying to empower, certain restaurants.
Yeah.
They give them better ratings and be like, oh, you need to drive here in order to cause more wear and tear. Like, I don't honestly see how that would have actually helped them regarding the fact that we've got so many freaking wheel companies and like so many tire companies, Firestone, and I won't get into that.
Yeah, but back then they were kind of like a bit of a monopoly at that point, They were like the main ones. They had contracts with all the main like garages and everything. So for them to be able to make people have to use their tires more to sell more tires was beneficial to them. So restaurants would that were further away from certain points would pay more to be featured and things like that, and it became a massive conspiracy.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say our whole highway where I live changed because of a Michelin agreement. They own a portion of the Nova Scotian highway now. It's kind of weird, but anyway.
If you want to know a crazy conspiracy to get into, have a look into the fraud behind the McDonald's Monopoly tokens. Absolutely crazy shit.
Hey, you want to hear a fun conspiracy? So here's a fun conspiracy. Is that so? You go back to middle December. You got Trump cut it. You're about to. I see the look on your face when I say that name. You're just like, oh my God, scratch your face. So Trump comes out, says middle December, Elon could never be president. He's not even an American citizen, right?
He's just bought the country, but yeah.
He's a South African, he's not even an American. So 2 days later, You know, depending on, you know, how you look at time, you know, maybe you'll say a day or maybe you'll say 2 days. It just depends like on the hours and how the news reporting went. But it looks like it was about 2 days. Trump comes out and says, you know, Canada, we took over Canada. It would just be a big, beautiful piece of land, you know, and they're letting so much fentanyl through the border, yada, yada. So here's the funny thing. And I heard this brought up by Jamie Raskin, actually, and I was just like, oh my God, this is what it is. And I had to go back and look at the timeline. And, you know, I'd urge your audience to look at it too. It'd be fun for them to just get into the conspiracy rabbit hole. But 2 days later, Trump comes out and says, we want to annex Canada. So who could be the president if Canada was a state?
Elon.
Do you know? Elon Musk. That's right, because he
God.
is considered a Canadian natural-born citizen because his mom is a Canadian citizen. They left Canada because they were upset that Canada.
Wait, so if Canada became a state, that means that Elon is already an American citizen because he's a Canadian citizen, which is now America, which means Elon could be the president. Oh, right. I've been writing a script for a video for a while called "Why Has No One Listened to Me? Elon Musk is a supervillain."
Do you like that? Do you like that conspiracy? That's pretty fun, isn't
Dude,
it?
that's going in it, by the way.
That's pretty fun, isn't it?
But why is no
Anyway.
one listening to me? Right, Elon Musk has a fleet of satellites that you don't know. He could have put a laser on every single one. Right, he's got the biggest electric car company in the world with full self-driving and everything. He's now making a fleet of robots, right? He's basically bought the American government. You know, he owns a company that can tunnel underground. Why is nobody listening to me? This guy is a supervillain. He wants to populate another planet.
Yeah. No, you got it all right in the sense of I don't think he wants to actually populate another planet. I think a lot of that's just like smokescreen shit. I honestly
Oh, my
think
chat is saying you
when-
can't run for president if you have dual citizenship.
Yeah, but you don't have dual citizenship if Canada's a state.
Yeah, but doesn't he have South African and Canadian citizenship? So he'd have dual citizenship, South African and American.
Yeah, but his early ancestry would be from that Canadian citizenry. So the earliest part of his ancestry comes from Canada. So if an American was to move to another place in the world and then move back to America, they could still run to be president. So I was going to say legally this works. You can look into it. You can try to be like, oh, I want to pipe dream this away. It seems to me that a lot of this has to do with a billionaire's ego. And yes, there's an Arctic Circle that is melting right now, which is going to be the most important trade route. You know, it probably in modern history, it's going to be the most important trade route is the Arctic trade route as the ice is melting up there. And Canada has majority control over that. So maybe they want that. A lot of people say there's oil, there's water, whole bunch of shit, but ultimately the timeline would imply to me that it boils down to Elon's ego and him saying legally you can never be president, he's a South African.
Right, enough of making me lose subscribers by talking political. Artful Dodger for $2 says, was Picard the Padawan of Kirk? How did that work? No, Picard and Kirk only met when they went into the time vortex thing and on the planet.
I got to contest
time
with
didn't
you.
pass,
I got to
so.
fight with you now. I'm gaining you subscribers.
Dihydrogen monoxide, £5. Fingers as long as your legs. You could grab joints from further away. Yeah, that would work.
Several. Ooh, yeah, multiple. Yeah.
One of my wife's
I don't know,
bucket
like-
list things is to roll a joint for Snoop Dogg.
We want to talk about Snoop Dogg after the little rant that I just went on. Oh no! Oh, I'm sorry, Snoop Dogg.
C-Roy,
man.
€6 says Mikey's left toe ruined feet for me. I understand. Have you seen Mikey's left toe? So there's a flat earther called Mikey Smith who he keeps
I don't want
making,
to see anybody's
he
feet.
keeps making videos about his left toe and how toes shouldn't really have faces like this one does.
Oh, What is that? Is that Alien versus Predator shit? What
No,
is that?
that's Mikey's toe.
Oh, that's nasty.
It has a face.
Maple syrup is nasty. I'm in your live chat now, and Syrian said maple syrup is nasty. You know what? I hope you pay $80 for your next bowl of maple syrup.
Who wants to drink pee, like tree pee? That's basically what maple syrup is.
What you're basically like? What is most of your life? Eating dead animal carcass and dead plant carcass. What's
Yeah.
the difference between animal pee and drinking?
I don't
and
eat.
eating
I don't drink
carcass?
animal pee. You eat tree pee.
Oh, you
Although
do.
carrots and parsnips cooked in maple syrup are amazing. So yeah.
Everybody in your chat though, I'm hanging out on your server now. They're like, that's disgusting. Do not show toes like that anymore. No infections.
Oh, they've all
warts.
seen Mikey Smith's toe before. It's fine. But guys, that is going to be it for me tonight. I've got about 5 hours before I need to get back up and get kids.
All right, goodbye,
to school
bitch.
and
See you
stuff.
later. Oh no, I'm not gonna hang up on you. I'm gonna let you close, but it was fun hanging out with you.
I appreciate it, mate. And yeah, always up for more debates on modern day debates. So yeah, speak to you soon, and you better come to Nashville.
What? No. I've already made it clear. No, like, I'm not gonna even get into some of the things that I've said to some of the people that I know. But like Canada, you know, if we go into America, anyway, we're not gonna start. All right.
You just have to put on a wig and an accent, and you'll be fine.
I don't know. No, anyways.
All right, I'll catch you later, buddy.
Okay, all right, fine. I won't make fun of myself. Fine. Goodbye, Craig.
See you later.
Yeah,
Bye.
bitch. Well,
Right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. There is no outro because all my videos are gone right now because my hard drive died. So I can't ask questions like, should airplanes in the night sky be like shooting stars or anything like that. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Again, I know that it's a bit of a smaller audience for the religious side of the debates, but hopefully I'll be picking up more people as I go along, and there'll be, you know, this will get just as fun as the flat earth stuff. I'm not going to stop doing it because I'm enjoying this a lot. And thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. I love every single one of you. The support is incredible. Remember, stupidity is not a right.